Nick. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and call on Councillor Dedivides to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, Haudenosaunee, and the Haudenosaunee, including the Mississauga of the Credit of the First Nations. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any declarations of interest? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare and Councillor Sentence next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a declaration of interest with item 12.9, the Thorold Community Credit Union. I'm on the board, so I should recuse myself from that.
Councillor Sentence, is yours the same?
Same.
Okay, we got that duly noted. Okay, anything else? Seeing none, adoption of the agenda. If there's two amendments, if there are no objections, I'd ask that we amend the agenda to move the public meeting for development charges bylaw and the consideration report up immediately following the mayor's report. And there's a walk-on report. It'll be the last report for consideration concerning a DC credit added as the last item for consideration. I'll let the clerk comment on that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this was listed as a confidential verbal update, item 17.6. It was going to be a closed session item. It is now an open session report. The report will be made available in eScribe and published online and will be read into the meeting today.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and a seconder for those agenda as amended? Councillor DeRose and Councillor D'Angelo.
Mr. Mayor, just a question on that. Moving up the development charge bylaw, should we not leave it where it is because we have a lot of presentations tonight, so it's going to be, that's what you're saying, to put it ahead of the presentations?
It's coming right as soon as I do my mayor's report. Okay?
All right, I would have left it till after, but that's fine.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. I'll also advise members of council that this is a long agenda tonight and that the clerk will be tracking of speaking time for all presentations, delegations, and questions from members of council. A timer through Zoom will show the speaking time allotted. Members, for any given item in accordance with the procedural bylaw, you'll have a maximum of 5 minutes for questions, and you'll only be offered an opportunity to speak a second time once every member has had an opportunity to speak. No member will be allowed to speak a third time without a majority vote from council approving it. Adoption of the minutes. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes from CLC 8/2024 from May 7th, 2024? I got Councillor Sentence and Councillor Dedivides. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Mayor's report. On May 8th, Daniel Dixon, Manager of Building Services, and I attended the Niagara Home Builders Association annual President's Dinner at the Holiday Inn and Conference Center in St. Catharines. I, along with other Niagara Region mayors, updated the association on the state of the building industry in our municipalities. On May 9th, I brought greetings on behalf of Niagara Regional Chair Jim Bradley and Niagara Economic Development to the Niagara Networks and Industry Collaborative hosted by the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce at the Niagara Falls Convention Center. Here in Niagara, we see challenges as opportunities for innovation and progress. By embracing them, we can drive economic growth and build resilient communities. On May 10th, I attended a ceremony at Lakeview Cemetery to honor Thorold-born Martha J. Cartmel, the founder in 1884 of Toyo-Ewa Shokunin, a private Japanese all-girls school in Tokyo, Japan. Martha was a Methodist missionary from Canada. I was joined by Kathy Kerr and other family members as we greeted the arrival of 15 Japanese alumni members who visited to see the 60 cherry trees they donated over 10 years ago at Lakeview Cemetery in memory of Martha's birthplace. A luncheon followed at Club Belvedere. I was part of Niagara's delegation May 12th and 13th that met with various provincial ministers and Premier Ford to discuss the priorities for the region as part of Niagara Week at Queen's Park in Toronto. The delegations I participated in were funding requests for the South Niagara Wastewater Treatment Plant, which is an important project for the City of Thorold, and shared services red tape reduction. On May 14th, I attended the announcement of Ashi Kasei's $1.56 billion investment in Port Colborne. They are building Canada's first ever lithium-ion battery separator plant. Great news not only for Port Colborne, but the Niagara region as a whole. On May 16th, I attended the Lemon Twist kickoff event hosted by Mountain View Building Group and FACTS Niagara at the FACTS headquarters in St. Catharines. This event included students from the NCDSB and the DSBN, including a team from Our Lady of the Holy Rosary Catholic Elementary School in Thorold. Mountain View Lemonade Day is Saturday, June 8th. Please take time to support this great community initiative and visit the lemonade stands in your area. The slogan says it all: kids helping kids, with all proceeds raised going to FACTS Niagara to send kids to summer camp. On May 16th, I was joined by Councillors O'Hare, Didavitas, Sentence, Regional Councillor Whalen, Regional Chair Jim Bradley, CAO Manoj Dawaria, and Natalie Stickles at Habitat for Humanity Niagara's home dedication ceremony in Thorold South. This was the 4th and 5th dedication ceremony in that area, and when the 4-unit townhouse is completed by Centennial Homes by the end of this year, the total will rise to 9 affordable home ownership housing units. Congratulations to homeowners Steve and Margarita, Luciano and Tatiana, and your children, who will now be able to call the City of Thorold home. Thank you, Habitat for Humanity Niagara, CEO Mark Carl, staff, board members, volunteers, and community organizations who make these projects possible. On May 18th, the anonymous donor, a City of Thorold business person, hosted another food giveaway, the 4th this year, for families and individuals in need. Once again, this drive-through or walk-in event was held at the Holy Rosary Hall parking lot. A huge thank you to the anonymous donor, Knights of Columbus members, numerous community volunteers, as well as councillors DeRose, DeAngela, Longo, and O'Hare. The numbers were up, which shows the importance of this heartwarming community initiative. On May 18th, I attended Merrittville Speedway Bike Giveaway, another great community initiative. Councillor DeRose was also in attendance. Over 120 new bikes were given away that evening. Thank you to Don and Lorraine Speece, the Merrittville Speedway owners, those who donated bikes, which are race team sponsors, track personnel, organizations, and local businesses, including our firefighters, Legion, and CUPE Local, to name a few, and event organizers, including Tim Bredman and his team from the Niagara Trail Maintenance Association. Last week, May 19th to 25th, was National Public Works Week. Our great team in Public Works and Community Services, under the leadership of Director Jeff Holman, keep our city running smoothly 365 days a year, and we thank you all for your hard work and dedication. On May 24th, I was joined by Councillors O'Hare, Didavitas, Regional Councillor Whalen, and many downtown BIA business owners at the Niagara River Lions 2024 season kickoff barbecue. This was held on the rooftop patio of their office at 10 Albert Street East. On Sunday, May 26th, St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church celebrated their 140th anniversary. The building itself is 140 years old. The congregation of St. Andrew's is 222 years old. Congratulations on reaching this important milestone. Some upcoming events: the Thorold Senior Center Spring Bazaar will be held on June 1st from 9 to 1 p.m. Raffles, penny table, flea market, bake table, crafts, pop-up market, and draws. The Thorold Senior Center 40th Anniversary Celebration and Senior of the Years Award will be held on June 15th at the center between 10 and 4 p.m. More details will become available shortly. Opening night of the Car Cruise and Community Market will be Wednesday, June 5th, and run every Wednesday until September 4th from 5 p.m. to dusk. Opening night will feature music from local favorites LMT Connection. This Thursday, May 30th, Niagara Health will be hosting a community engagement center at the Thorold Senior Citizen Center from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. This session, called Transforming Care 3-Hospital System, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and Welland sites, will involve a presentation followed by a question and answer period. And in closing, the annual Thorold Runway of Recognition Gala is taking place on Monday, June 10th at John Michael's Banquet and Event Center. Tickets are $40. This is always a great community event. For more details and to purchase tickets, visit their website, thoroldrunway.com. That's thoroldrunway.com, and that's the end of my mayor's remarks. I'll now turn to the statutory public meeting under the Development Charges Act. I'll call to order the public meeting being held pursuant to the provisions of the Development Charges Act as amended, respecting the City of Thorold's Development Charges Background Study and Draft Bylaw. Presentation, non-residential rates. I'll call on Byron Tan, manager of Watson and Associates, for his presentation. Welcome, Byron. Welcome back, I should say.
Thank you, members of council. Thank you, Your Worship. Happy to be back here today, second time this month. So as you've alluded to, tonight is a second public meeting presentation to provide you with the updates to the development charge background study, as directed by city staff, as well as through comments from city council during the official public meeting earlier this month. So my presentation will be brief tonight, as we went through the majority of the findings earlier in the month. However, for tonight, just want to provide you a little bit of an overview of the addendum purpose, as well as the updated rates with respect to non-residential. Again, through the comments presented during the public meeting. So as mentioned, we had the public meeting on, May 7th, 2024. So again, just a few weeks ago. And as part of that, through directions through city staff, as well as comments from council, there was an item where the non-residential DCs were to be converted back to from a uniform rate back to the separated charges that you currently impose. So as of right now, under your current bylaw, you do have a two-structure system within your non-residential rates, one being for commercial and institutional, and another one for industrial. So the revision then just goes about to maintain that type of structure under your new potential bylaw that's considered tonight. So with the changes, again, this is highly summarized, and I apologize for the size of this for those that are looking from the large screen. But essentially, your current charges, as you can see going left to right, you currently have your bylaw providing a separated charge for commercial and institutional of roughly $11.22 for all developments within, let's say, Rolling Meadows. And then as well, for example, if you're looking at a citywide charge, it's roughly $11, just over $11. Similarly, you do have your current industrial charge separated out. So right now, if you're within the city receiving full services, it's just over $3.50. However, if you're within Rolling Meadows, that's up to just over $3.70. As I mentioned, as we released the background study back on March 28th, it was calculated to be a uniform charge of just under $9, $8.37. However, now moving forward, with today's presentation, as well as the addendum report that was released last week, we are proposing to revert it back to the current rate structure, which again has your commercial and institutional calculated amounts in the realm of roughly $11.61. And then adding in the wastewater area specific for Rolling Meadows, all in $11.74 per square foot. Similarly, for industrial, we now have a charge of just over $5 per square foot for a citywide charge with full services, and then adding in another 5 cents if you're within the Rolling Meadows area for the wastewater area specific charges. And as I mentioned with Bill 23, these charges would be subject to the mandatory phase-in of 80%. So as of right now, that $11 charge for the citywide would actually drop down to $9.29 per square foot for the commercial institutional, and just around $4.15 per square foot for the industrial charge. And this schedule here presented in front of you is the proposed development charge schedule that will be appended to the end of your draft bylaw that's being considered tonight. So this includes, again, all the residential charges we talked about earlier this month, as well as the revisions to the non-residential, which, as you can see, includes commercial, institutional, as well as industrial. And just to finalize my presentation, in terms of the changes, this comparator compares your rates relative to the rest of Niagara region and the local area municipalities. You could see, if we were describing this chart, the gold or yellow or orangey yellow at the bottom, that is the upper tier amounts for the non-residential commercial. And then the blue are the local area municipalities development charges for commercial. And then the hatched line represents those that have either passed the bylaw or have just released their study. And the hatched line represents the 20% phase-in that they have to reduce by because of the, because of the calculated changes from Bill 23. So you could see where Thorold is right now. You're currently just, left of the center with the blue arrows designating your current rates, and moving towards these new revised rates. As you can see, you really don't move in terms of ranking. However, you may move depending on, the implementation of the mandatory phase-in and removing those hatched lines, which would then draw you closer to the right-hand side of this bar graph. And then similarly with industrial, as you can see, with looking at the rest of the municipalities within, Niagara region, you're currently just right to the center of the bar graph. And with this change, you'll just be moving just a little bit higher than Grimsby and Port Colborne and West Lincoln. Now, keep in mind, I was just at West Lincoln yesterday, so we went through the public meeting. So these charges, again, was reflected differently than what was provided, for them as of last night. So their charges will also be different than what's presented on this slide. And then Port Colborne, they are also undergoing a process to update their DCs as well. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Byron. And I'll open the floor for questions from council. Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Tan, for coming in again. Nice to see you. And forgive me, I'm going to ask the same question I've asked before. It's not a personal attack. I'm just hoping that we're getting closer and closer to an answer. So you expressed that there's a reduction, an exception for DCs regarding affordable, attainable housing. Yet we still, at the last time you were here, had not received a definition for attainable. Has that come through yet?
Great question. Through your worship, attainable housing definitions have not been released yet. So as of right now, it's still only on the affordable side.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else questions? Seeing none, thank you, Byron, for your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you.
Registered speakers. At this time, is there anyone online or present in the chamber who wishes to speak on the applications? Do we have anyone online?
No one online.
Okay, I'll ask one more time. At this time, is there anyone online or present in the chamber who wishes to speak to the applications? Seeing none. As the development charges bylaw is on the agenda for consideration this evening, we will now adjourn the public meeting and move right to the consideration of staff report DF 6 2024. This fulfills the requirements of the Development Charges Act. The public meeting portion of this matter is now adjourned. DF 6 2024, Development Charges Background Study and Bylaw. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put the report on the floor? Councillor Longo and Councillor Sentence. Are there any questions regarding the development, the development charges bylaw? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Just a comment. I want to thank staff for putting a lot of time and effort into this, because I know we always have to identify our growth projects to make sure that we're maximizing these development charges. So anyone moving new into our community is paying for a lot of the newer services that are being built. So it just doesn't fall back on the taxpayers that are currently here. That's one of the reasons of growth is to get better and improved and new services that we don't have. So I'm very supportive of moving forward with the development charges, and also taking into consideration that we're also trying to be very gentle with the industrial and the commercial component, because those are key drivers in terms of good tax revenues for the city.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? Seeing none, we had a mover and a seconder for that report, DF 6, 2024. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Waste management presentation. I'll call on, is she online?
Believe that they are present. We're just inviting them back in the room.
Okay, I'm going to call on Helen Furtado, Director of Financial Management and Planning, Deputy Treasurer, and Catherine Habermill, Director of Waste Management Service in the Niagara Region, for the presentation Respecting Waste Management. Welcome, Helen and Catherine. And who's presenting, or both of you are, or you are, Catherine? Okay, I'll turn the floor over to you. And, what, 10 minutes?
Yep, 10 minutes.
You have 10 minutes, so you're used to this at the region, so I'm sure.
I am, and I've been chosen to present because this is Helen's last week before she retires, so.
Really? Congratulations, Helen. You'll find something to keep you busy that make you busier than you were now, believe me.
So good evening, Mayor, councillors, staff, and members of the public. My name is Catherine Habermill. I'm the Director of Waste Management Services, and Helen Furtado, the Director of Financial Management and Planning, and Deputy Treasurer is here to join me to address any further questions about the budget once we conclude our presentation. So at the request of the city, we were pleased to be able to present to you information to address questions about the Waste Management 2024 operations budget in light of some of the major changes that occurred around the Blue Box program. Although the request to provide details was around the final budget, I do think it's important to provide a high level of review of the changes that occurred on January 1st, 2024 to the residential Blue Box program. I think this will help provide some context around our budget strategy. So in June 2021, the province introduced the Blue Box Ontario Regulation 391-21. This regulation allowed producers of designated Blue Box materials to be responsible for the waste they generated from their products and packaging that's sold to consumers. Producers are brand holders, importers, or retailers of products that contain designated Blue Box materials that are sold into the Ontario market, which includes online. Examples of producers could be Costco, McDonald's, Loblaws, just to name a few. Rather than try to operate individually the Blue Box program, producers could join a producer responsibility organization, or otherwise known as a PRO. There are currently 3 PROs operating in the province currently. The largest PRO is Circular Materials, and Circular Materials was tapped on the shoulder to actually be the producer responsible for setting up the system, the Blue Box collection system in Ontario. So the first residential Blue Box programs in Ontario started to transition on July 1st of 2023. This made the producers in those areas responsible for the residential Blue Box program financially and operationally. This graph here just provides a nice diagram of the timelines concerning the Blue Box transition. As I said, the first municipalities transitioned on July 1st, and you'll see on the slide that on January the 1st, 2024, Niagara Region transitioned out of operating the Blue Box program. There is a period between July 1st of 2023 to the end of 2025, which is called the transition period. And during that time, in accordance with the regulations and the dates in the regulations, municipalities will transition out of the Blue Box program and over to the producers. And then effective January 1st, 2026, all Blue Box programs across Ontario will transition out of the program. So during that transition period, which is about 2.5 years, municipalities had the opportunity to continue to provide services on behalf of the producers. Niagara Region opted out of providing residential collection services on behalf of CMO because of we felt the significant risks that existed when we looked at the contracts that were provided to us by CMO. Our current providers actually were not willing to assign an agreement with us based on the terms of that contract. And we just felt that when we looked at the compensation and the risks and the opportunity, I guess, that we had to negotiate, we just felt it was better that Niagara opted out. Now, having said that, I don't think residents have seen a difference because the same collection providers are still providing the service here in Niagara. So in anticipation of these changes, staff developed a multi-year financial strategy to keep budget increases lower until savings could be realized in 2024. Reserves had been used for several years to fund the budget pressures until this year, until we could realize savings this year from these legislative changes, which led to a 0% budget in 2024. In the 2024 budget, $11 million in savings were finally realized. Of that $11 million, $9.6 million were from no longer providing residential blue box collection services, and $1.6 million were from the sale of our recycling facility back in April of 2023. These savings offset prior year's use of the reserve budget in the order of $7.5 million, as well as other pressures in the 2024, totaling about $3.3 million that would have otherwise resulted in a 6% budget increase instead of the actual 0 budget increase that we landed on. So as noted, reserves were used in the years of 2021 to 2023 to mitigate budget increases that equaled as high as 9% and 15%, down to annual increases of approximately 5% for the 3 years before the 0% increase in 2024 was realized. Between 2020 and 2023, a total of $13.5 million of costs were mitigated with this reserve strategy. The reserves mitigated the region's new collection contract, which began in the fall of 2020, and more recently the 2023 inflationary increases for the collection contract. This mitigation strategy was only possible knowing that the budget would eventually be reduced significantly when the residential blue box program changes were implemented on January 1st of 2024. So as a result of the 0% budget increase approved by Niagara Regional Council, and in combination with the assessment growth for the City of Thorold, the average household is seeing a decline in the annual cost of waste management services from $147.05 per year to $145.87 per year. Of course, with any budget, there's always risks. And the most significant risk for us, given that 80% of our operational budget is for outsourced services, such as the collection contract, the organics processing contract, and landfill operations, we do have risks around the annual increases. So these contracts are subject to escalation based on CPI and fuel indexes. There's also a risk post-2025, after the Blue Box program has been implemented fully, and we have to make some decisions around providing recycling services to residents at our depots, and how we're going to, and if we're going to continue servicing our businesses through a curbside program. That concludes my presentation. Myself and Helen are here to address any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'll open the floor up for questions from council. Are there any questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Ms. Habermill. Catherine, I've worked with you for a very long time, so nice to see you again. Just a couple questions, pretty simple ones. Since it's a seamless process, if anyone needs to get a blue box, do they still follow the same process that was done in the past? Just go to one of the depots to get a blue box or to replace a blue box? Is that very similar still?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And through the mayor, no, they actually contact their collection contractor at this point, and so there is information on our website to direct residents to the collection contractor.
Which in our case is GFL, correct?
That's correct,
in
yes.
the City of Thorold. Okay, yeah. I'm not sure, but do we? We're gonna. If we don't, we will make sure it gets added. Yeah.
The other question I had, Mr. Mayor, was in terms of municipalities where they have facilities and they collect recyclables, is that still going to be picked up by the new organization? Use an example, the arena, right? We have recycle bins there for people to put cans and bottles in. Is that still going to be picked up, or was that picked up from the recycling company?
That I'm not sure about, Catherine, or maybe Jeff knows. The stuff in our arenas, is that picked up, or do we look after it? Go ahead, Dave. Just as a question, because I don't know the answer.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's brought to our Municipal Operations Center and recycled that way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's all I had for questions.
Okay,
Thank
anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Catherine. Thanks for coming in, Catherine. I just have a couple of quick questions. One piggybacks on the blue box. Should people call the GFL phone number as well? Should a pickup not be made that they notice that it was missed in any given day?
Through the mayor, that's correct. So the Niagara region has no responsibility now operationally or financially for the program, so calls will be directed to the collection contractor in your area, which GFL is the contractor for Thorold. If there are issues that are not resolved, they can always call Circular Materials directly. Okay, great. And last question, has anything changed regarding what can go in the blue box and what will be picked up? So through the mayor, yes, there's some small changes, but they don't really impact us. I mean, it's the material that was impacted, it's like makes up 0.7% of the material that we collect. Now, there will be some further changes come 2026, but the producers are actually adding material to the program.
I think the biggest change was books, right? Am I correct?
That's correct. Hardcover books.
Hardcover books.
And softcover.
We
Can
used
no
to
longer?
They used to collect them, now they're no longer.
Right, good. Okay, thank you so much.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I want to thank you, Catherine, and Helen, I want to thank you, and if I don't get to see you before you leave, all the best in your retirement.
Thank you.
Okay, up next we have another presentation, Partners for Climate Protection Program. I'll call on Kiana Simmons, Project Officer, and Lindsay Telfer, Manager of Capacity Development, Green Municipal Fund, for a presentation respecting the Partners for Climate Change Program. Are they? They're online. They're online, so.
Hi, Kiana, can you hear us?
Hi there, yes you can.
Perfect. You should now have the ability to share your screen.
Yes, give me a moment. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see it now.
Let me just briefly find my presenter view. All right, good evening, Mr. Speaker, members of council. Thank you so much for having us tonight. My name is Kiana Simmons. I'm a project officer with the Green Municipal Fund at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Today I'm joined by my manager, Lindsay Telfer, manager of capacity development at the Green Municipal Fund. And we are here to present just an information package on the Partners for Climate Protection Program and answer some of the questions that council may have on this initiative. So what is the Partners for Climate Protection Program? We are a network of over 520 Canadian municipal governments. Our members have made a commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and act on climate change in their municipalities. Our program provides a framework to guide municipalities through the 5 steps of implementing a local climate action plan, and I will tell you what those 5 steps are in just a moment. And our program is a partnership between the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and ICLEI Canada, FCM being the funder and the project manager, and ICLEI being sort of our technical experts who support municipalities in some of those more complicated questions on how to do what they're interested in doing. Our program was founded in 1994, so this is our 30th year working with municipalities. And I did provide the slides for council beforehand, so you should be able to watch this video, which is linked in the slides. I won't play it. It's sort of an overview of what the program is, but I'm going to get into that just in case you want to refer to it later. This is just a map of our reach. So the program has, again, I think we're at 523 municipalities at this time. We're in 13 provinces and territories. And the program, or the municipalities that are part of our program represent over 70% of the Canadian population. And this map is really just to illustrate that the Partners for Climate Protection Program is a national network and is a way of connecting municipalities across the country. So your municipality would have access to information and discussions with municipalities that are in BC, in Alberta, in the prairies, on the coast. And so I mentioned before that we have a 5-step framework. So when municipalities join the Partners for Climate Protection Program, this is what they're signing on to receive our support in doing. And we provide recognition at each of these milestones as our members are going through the process. So the first milestone is creating a greenhouse gas emissions inventory. We have 2 streams in the program, the corporate stream, which looks at the municipality's emissions, and the community stream, which looks at the community as a whole. And so what you're doing in that first step is looking at where our greenhouse gas is being emitted in different actions being undertaken by your municipality or in your community, and quantifying them. And we provide tools and supports to help you do that. It is the most difficult step, and it tends to take the most time. Second milestone is setting a target, and that is an emissions reduction target. So once you've identified where those emissions are being created, you're looking at where can we reduce those, or where would we have the most impact if we had if we implement interventions. Milestone 3 is to develop a local climate action plan. And that is it's not prescribed by our program what that is. We let municipalities decide what are the priorities for them, and they will submit to us to show that they've done it. And once they've created that plan, with whatever the priorities and the actions are for them, that's when we would provide recognition for milestone 3. Milestone 4 is the implementation of that plan. So initiating a tree planting program, or initiating a composting program, whatever is the priority for that municipality, and how they put it into place is up to their discretion. But that's what milestone 4 consists of. And milestone 5 is monitoring the impact. So of the actions that you'd identified in your climate action plan, once you've implemented them in milestone 4, what is the impact? Where are the emissions? What's happening? Are they being reduced? Are they changing? This is a step for municipalities to reflect on their actions and to see, what's actually working for you. And so our framework has been designed with support at every level, but also to be sort of redone. Once you have done your monitoring at milestone 5, you'd be welcome to use our support again and create an emissions inventory again, and kind of look at what's happening in your municipality after you've taken whatever actions you've chosen to take. So why join the Partners for Climate Protection Program? We are a free membership. We don't provide funding. Often people ask, okay, well, is there money involved? No. We really just provide supports to municipalities to undertake the efforts that they are interested in undertaking. Our program is funded by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and this allows us to provide technical supports as well as different resources, different programming to our members at no cost to help them address their priorities. What are some of these technical tools and supports? On the right, we have a little screenshot of what we call the PCP tool. This is kind of our most useful resource that our members have access to. It does 2 things. So the first, we have a tool that helps you calculate your greenhouse gas emissions to create that inventory. That first milestone that I mentioned, that is sort of the most time consuming and takes the most effort, we have a tool to help walk you through that. And it shows you where to look for the data when you're looking at quantifying greenhouse gas emissions from your landfill or from your municipal fleet. This tool will help you put those numbers in. It's got sort of the calculations embedded, and it helps especially small municipalities who don't have a lot of staff capacity or don't have consultant support, helps them to do this milestone by themselves. And then it's also a submission tool. So our members will submit their documentation for the recognition of the other milestones through the PCP tool. We also create different documents throughout the years. We have guidebooks, we do case studies, we try and focus on things that are of interest to our members, help kind of inspire, but also provide that technical information that they might need. Another big sort of component of our program is peer learning. And as I mentioned, being a national network, one of the benefits is that we try to connect municipalities from across the country. We do that in two ways. The first is through the PCP Hub. It is sort of like an online forum where members can ask questions. Hey, what's your municipality doing related to this problem? What are you doing with building retrofits? And people can pose questions. They can promote, events. There's a webinar that's on this really interesting topic. Maybe other members would like to join. It's kind of a place for municipalities to connect, and then for us to share information with the municipalities who are members, like the annual survey and new resources that come out. And we also have a monthly community of practice. This is where our members can connect with each other via video. We have a 1-hour call once a month, and it's just a free and available time for members to ask questions. We always have an expert on hand, and sometimes we'll have different people from across the country who are working on innovative projects present on what they're working on. Another sort of informal but connection we have, obviously, we're funded by PCP is funded by the Green Municipal Fund. And so since we don't provide funding to members through the Partners for Climate Protection program, we try to connect our members with funding opportunities from the Green Municipal Fund. And so you can see here, these are some of the areas that the Green Municipal Fund provides grants and loans to municipalities. And since we end up reviewing quite a lot of climate action plans, we might say, hey, you're looking at doing organic waste to energy. We actually have funding for that through the Green Municipal Fund. Let me put you in touch with someone. So we try to kind of make those connections for our members. And the Green Municipal Fund also has several resources, and we have courses, webinars, case studies, guidebooks, different capacity development resources that sort of go beyond what the Partners for Climate Protection cover. It goes into some different areas that our members find to be quite useful. Lastly, the PCP program provides recognition for the work that you're doing regarding climate action at every step of the way. So we have a digital badge program. We also will send letters and an official letter and an email every time that you achieve a milestone. We find that this is a great way for municipalities to be able to share the work they're doing on social media. We have like a press release template. We have badges that you can put on your website. It just helps you to promote what you're doing, because oftentimes municipalities are making impact or are doing a lot. And sometimes it's hard for constituents to necessarily know exactly what's going on. So this digital recognition is provided at every step. Yeah, that is my very brief overview of the program, 10 minutes. I'm happy to answer any questions, and Lindsay is here to help with that as well. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Kiana, and I'll open the floor from our council for questions to the presenter. Questions? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, first of all, if you go to your third page, I watched that YouTube video, and I just need an explanation. If you can go to your third page and play that YouTube video. At the 29-second mark, it speaks of municipalities have influence over 50% of greenhouse gas emissions. Could you just explain that? Clarify, please.
Yes, I guess we have seen, working with our members, that a lot of municipalities are passionate sort of about the greenhouse gas emissions emitted from sort of the community and the municipal body, and different incentives can be put in place that can sort of support people in making green transitions. Again, through our program, it's kind of up to members to decide what their priorities are. But we have lots of municipalities that have sort of, through the program, made different investments and had greenhouse gas reductions in different sectors. And yeah, it's, I guess, not necessarily a specific example there, but we've seen kind of across the program, people have different priorities and are able to achieve reductions working through the program.
I still don't have it explained, but we'll go to the next question. Have any communities reached all 5 steps?
Yes.
Can you name a few?
Yes, the city of Kitchener, Markham, we celebrated them last year at our Sustainable Communities Conference. I don't have a ton off the top of my head, a lot of sort of the big cities. I think the city of Toronto was the first city to complete the program. Yeah, we tend to have about 5 or 6 municipalities. I think we had 8 last year who achieved milestone 5.
Thank you. I'd like to quantify things when I'm asked to spend taxpayers' money. Can you quantify how much? First of all, yeah. Can you give me any? So the ones that reached all 5 steps, do you have a rough idea of what they spent doing it internally?
No, participating in the program doesn't cost any money. It's really hard to say what a municipality would spend in implementing the actions that they've chosen to put in their local climate action plan. I think that would be something that would need to sort of be a discussion between a municipality and themselves, but we don't deal with money actually at all.
Yeah, just to let you know, staff time is considered taxpayers' money, but we'll move on. Can you quantify how much greenhouse gases have been reduced with the communities that have participated?
Again, it would depend on the municipality. They would provide that in sort of their final milestone 5 report. I don't have one handy right now, but generally we do see reductions at the end of the program. Or once a municipality has gone through all 5 milestones.
Implementing and running environmental programs can be resource intensive. Can you provide details on the staff time required to manage ICLEI's initiatives, including the resource needed, associated fees, and any hidden costs that municipalities might incur?
I'm not sure what ICLEI's initiatives refers to. The Partners for Climate Protection program is meant to act as a program to support staff with low capacity. So we will provide sort of free technical support and resources to staff, as well as to connect them with sort of practical examples and templates that they might be able to use in order to sort of lighten the burden as they work through the 5 milestones.
So how are these costs justified and communicated to the stakeholders involved? Because when we asked our staff, they have no idea how much this is going to cost.
The program doesn't cost any money, but I think, again, as a municipality identifies their priorities, sometimes we find that things that you might already be working on are opportunities to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions, and they can fit into work you're already doing. And again, we try to provide those opportunities to connect through the Green Municipal Fund to help sort of support initiatives that generally contribute to greenhouse gas reductions.
Thank you.
Economics.
Pardon?
You're on your last question because you're running out of time.
Last question, Mr. Mayor? I have a whole bunch. Economic sustainability is as important as environmental sustainability. How does ICLEI address concerns about the economic impact of its initiatives on local communities, particularly regarding the financial burden on property taxes?
I can't speak to ICLEI. I work for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities.
Okay, then just replace the word ICLEI with who you work for.
I can you repeat the question?
ask one more question, Mr.
Sorry,
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, I'd recommend you move on. The council can have an additional 3 minutes once everyone else has had an
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, Counselor Hanley, here
Thank
you
you.
up next. Go ahead.
There's my-
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would assume that we don't have actually anybody here from ICLEI, just from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you, first question would be, as a municipality, what are our legislated obligations in regards to greenhouse gas emissions?
Truthfully, not something that we deal with as part of the program. Again, this is like an optional program to join, and we just provide supports to municipalities upon request. So there's no sort of legislative or obligatory component in this program.
So there's nothing in law that says that we have to do it. Thank you very much. Second up, could you explain how is it that you measure the amount of greenhouse gas emissions going into the atmosphere from municipal facilities?
We ask the municipalities to create a greenhouse gas emissions inventory, and some of the documentation on our website for the sort of milestone 1 submissions would help provide information on the methodology. And so each municipality kind of can do it their own way.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Would that be in accordance with the Green Energy Act of 2009 and updated in 2019 in regards to municipalities' obligations?
I'm really not sure about that question.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go on. Seeing that you represent the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Seeing you're here representing them, can I ask you why, as the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Government of Canada, that you would absolve yourselves from any liability in regards to municipalities implementing your ICLEI initiatives? Why do you absolve yourself from any liability?
I might ask my manager, Lindsay Telford, to jump in on that one and see if we can get you an answer.
I would like a little bit more clarification on the question. What exactly are you referring to with respect to absolving responsibility?
Yeah, okay. Actually, in your PCP, Partners for Climate Protection website, there's a section there that says this project is carried out with the assistance from the Green Municipal Fund, a fund financed by the Government of Canada and administered by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and ICLEI. Notwithstanding this support, the views expressed are the personal views of the authors and ICLEI Canada. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Government of Canada accept no responsibility for them. Can I ask why you have absolved yourself any liability in regards to us initiating this program? Why would you do that?
I think because the priorities that each municipality sets within the scope of the program are their priorities. We are not prescribing those priorities, nor do we necessarily endorse all the priorities that all communities may in fact have in their priorities. They're very local. They're very they're developed by you for you, and so we are not. We are not within the scope of the program dictating or prescribing the program focus for Thorold or for any other member for that matter.
Okay, thank you for making that clear for me. One more quick one. Population growth and urbanization impact. There is concern among the taxpayers I talk with that with some substantiality programs to drive population growth away from smaller municipalities or urban areas. How would this impact the growth of small towns, rural landowners, and the cost of housing in urban areas? And I'm just going to expand on that. I asked that because when I look on ICLEI's website, and I know you don't represent ICLEI, and I wish they were here, is that it actually states not 5 milestones, it states 5 pathways. Can I ask why on the actual ICLEI website it states pathways, not framework? Because the pathways are low emission, nature-based, equitable, resilient, and circular development. I have concern with that. So why the difference?
I think those might be outside the scope of the Partners for Climate Protection program. I think that might be sort of a discussing something else. Our milestones are very specific to what we do at the Partners for Climate Protection program. But those pathways might refer to a different initiative.
Okay, through ICLEI. I just wish we had someone here from ICLEI as we had requested, Mr. Mayor. Someone, the representatives from the PCP or ICLEI, which I believe we don't have and still haven't had. Thank you very much.
Just to jump in there, we are representing the Partners for Climate Protection Program. ICLEI is its own individual organization, as is the Green Municipal Fund and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And the Partners for Climate Protection Program is a joint initiative that we are implementing together. It itself is an individualized program as well and does not represent the full scope of either of the partners, but where we come together in connection and in unison.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then that tells me then this is actually a government-funded program and administered by the government, not by ICLEI. Is that what you're saying?
We are not a representative of the federal government, but the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Green Municipal Fund does receive federal funding.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have questions? Any other members of council? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Kiana. Kiana, you spoke about milestone 1 taking the most time. I know this is a difficult question to answer, but can you give an approximate time frame of what a municipality the size of ours, let's say 30,000 residents, how long it might take to complete that milestone 1? Are we talking 1 year or 5 years? So just I'd like to hear your insight on that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily dependent on the size of your municipality, but the data you have available. And so we find sometimes with smaller municipalities, and we have many municipalities much smaller than yours that have worked through the milestones. It really depends on, how much time staff have to get that data, and then if that data is readily available, if sort of the bodies that they're working with to get that data cooperate. Sometimes you can complete that milestone within several months. Sometimes municipalities will join the program and they'll start accessing the resources and they'll take their time and they won't complete it for a couple of years. Again, we don't necessarily push municipalities to get it done, but it's something that once you've sort of found the data, putting it in the calculator, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do, but to contact the people and get the right information really depends on sort of the quality or the sources of your data and the connections that you have to the different departments that you might need that information from.
So what I'm hearing is that there's no specific time frame, so that if we should take a little bit longer to complete something, that's fine. We work at our own pace.
Absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you. I wanted to ask, how easily accessible is the someone from the PCP organization? How accessible are they to reach, to answer questions, to support the work that's being done at our municipality?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll see, I'm going to pull up sort of the last slide. We have a Partners for Climate Protection Program email, which I check every day. So we are reachable every day. Again, we have those monthly calls where we can have those open discussions once a month. And I had a member email today asking if she could have an information meeting because she's the only person working on climate change initiatives at her municipality. And we booked the meeting for Friday. So generally speaking, our turnaround time and to access someone from the Secretariat is quite quick.
Great, thank you. Do you ever make personal visits to meet with staff and work even closer?
Not necessarily. We'll do these council presentations. That's sort of the travel that we get up to, but we don't go to the municipalities. We work with them digitally, given that we're a national network, and we're sort of federally funded. We're not traveling. We're using our money to create resources to support our members.
Okay. Can you tell me, of the two categories, community and corporate, can you generalize and say which one is a little bit easier to complete or perhaps may cost more? Is there one over the other?
I would say that a lot of municipalities start with corporate because quantifying sort of that information is a little bit easier. You have your contacts at City Hall and you know sort of what is happening in your municipality. When you're looking at the community stream, your scope gets a little broader, and right, different municipalities have different industries, have different natural resources. So it kind of differs, but usually municipalities will start with the corporate stream, and oftentimes they will do the corporate stream at the same time as the community and sort of work through both milestones. But I do see corporate sort of more often than community.
So you can complete the corporate before you even tackle the community?
Yes, you could. Okay. You could finish the corporate and start the community years later. You could complete them at the same time. We don't necessarily push for either order. We just support you in whatever you're undertaking at this time.
Mm-hmm. All right, you spoke of some grants that were available that covered certain initiatives. Do you know of any grants that immediately can be accessed to implement phase one, or is that not an area where grants can be utilized?
So step one is creating that emissions inventory. It's a good question. We don't provide funding through the Partners for Climate Protection program, so it's a little bit more of a Green Municipal Fund program, but the tool that we have created is designed so that it's sort of easier for you to complete that step, and we have resources available. We also will offer technical expert time to help walk you through that if need be. So I don't think that we necessarily have money out for it, but we do have support in other fashions.
Okay, thank you very much. That's everything.
Anyone else with questions? Is there any other councillor that has questions? Go ahead, councillor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a few more questions. Are you able to tell us how much carbon dioxide is in the Earth's atmosphere?
Not at this current moment.
Yeah. I'm a teacher and I like numbers, so I'm calling this carbon dioxide by numbers. It's approximately 420 parts per million, or 0.42%, 42 of 1% of all the gases in the atmosphere. How much of that carbon dioxide do you think comes from natural sources like decayed animal and plant material?
Seems outside the scope of my presentation today.
Just to let you know, it's 97%.
Councillor, what further questions do you have?
Well, they should be knowledgeable about this, Mr. Mayor. If they're pushing this stuff on us, they should be knowledgeable about this. I shouldn't have to research it and learn, Mr. Mayor. So 3% so basically, that means the world's 8 billion people produce only 3% of all carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, point of order. I don't think we're here for a science lesson.
He's asking questions,
I'm asking
Mr. Mayor,
questions.
point of order.
I'm just gonna, do our presenters have an answer for that, or are we moving on?
I would only recommend that council look to the International Panel on Climate Change. Online has a wealth of resources and information should you wish to look at the global consensus on climate science at the present moment. And I'm sure they have representatives and Canadian representatives who might be willing to come to council and share their thoughts on the state of science.
Do you know who funds them? I didn't think so. Thank you.
Okay, are you done? Okay, Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask a question. I was going to hold off on it. In regards to, now that we've gone here, because it's you don't work for ICLEI, you work for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And do you believe that a non-governmental organization's agenda should be part of a municipal council council mandate? And I ask that because ICLEI themselves, if I could just find here, I apologize in regards to it because I have to go on my phone and get it up. But there's a local agenda 21 planning guide. And I just want to ask, is that what ICLEI follows in regards to it? Because I was doing some research, again, as I concur with Councillor DeRose, we should be having individuals here that can answer our questions, which hasn't been the case here tonight. But there's a local agenda 21 planning guide, and that's actually an ICLEI documentation. So I ask, do you believe that a non-government organization's agenda should be part of a municipal councillor's mandate? Because that's what this is. This is pushing Agenda 21. I got the literature right here from ICLEI.
The Partners for Climate Protection program is designed to help support municipalities in their climate action that they choose to undertake. We have nothing mandated through the program. We don't force municipalities to do anything. We really are just here to offer support.
Okay, but your belief is to implement Agenda 21. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any further questions for the presenters? Seeing none, Kayana and Lindsay, I want to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next, we have another presentation on the Thorold Museum, and I'll call Malcolm Woodhouse, President of Thorold Museum Board, for a presentation respecting the Thorold Museum. Welcome, Malcolm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. That was very interesting. I'd like to first off acknowledge and thank the members of council, senior staff, Jeff Holman, Maria Morrow, and Dave Baldoni for all the efforts they put into helping us with the museum. There's a number of questions raised as a result of your meeting you had the other day, which I hope I can address. Our collection, we were asked to put this thing together and to create this board by a report that was generated and approved by council on May 3rd, 2023. In that report, you asked for us to establish an incorporation, apply for charitable status, take over the second floor of the Ellenberg Community Center for storage of some of our articles, develop an operating business model, develop a community-based museum cultural center, create an educational leasing or learning experience, in other words, a people meeting people place, as I call it, provide oversight and management of the operation, financial stability, prepare and approve a capital and operating budgets, and do an inventory action plan. All those things have either been done or one of them still in the works. We have storage in a lot of locations. We have over 30,000 items. We have 2 barns that we actually use. We have somebody's house who's been generous enough to allow us to put in some of the more sensitive things. Credit union in Thorold. 4 storage units we rent. And now we have 2 Carlton Street. Has taken over the Canadian Core collection. We've also been entrusted with the Ontario Land Registry deeds for all of Thorold from its onset. We're asked to take that collection over by the Ontario government, which we have done. I think to say that we haven't met the mandate, I think is just a wrong way of putting it. We have tried our best to bring forward the economics of the proposal, having submitted an operational plan or operational budget back in January of this year. That budget is well known to everybody. All of you have seen it. Council and whoever recommended it decided to shift it over to community grants, knowing that of the budget we submitted, that community grant fund was of $30,000, and our budget request was $122,000 for the fiscal year. How you ever thought we were going to be able to operate with $10,000 that was approved and recommended through that community grant thing is beyond me. We successfully worked very, very hard, got volunteer architectural services free of charge to put together the application for the grant to the federal government. We lobbied extensively. Our mayor did, more than any of us, I must say. And as a result of that, we got $6.275 million for this project for the city. We simply asked to be supported in fulfilling the mandate that you gave us when we created this organization. It's that simple. It's no more complex than that. And I have to say that without the efforts of staff, senior staff, Jeff Holman and Maria and others, this wouldn't have been achieved. These folks worked very, very diligently, very hard on putting this thing together, and we worked as a good team. It was only when this council decided to take an operating budget, which should have been considered as part of your 2024 operating budget, but was not, put us all in a very difficult situation. Now, I'm asking for three things. Number one, which I've asked for before, our board, is that a member of council be chosen to represent you on our board. I think that would be very helpful in terms of communications as we move forward with this thing. The second thing is that the minutes of this council, of this city and town and village before that from the 1800s, we have very serious concerns about the safety and security of those minutes. We've had an incident where some things got damaged due to a flood, where people put things and there was a flood and historical articles were destroyed and tossed out. We don't want that to happen with these minutes from the 1850s and onward. Now, staff have done what they can, and I'm not here to criticize them. We've been told that there is funding available. We need at the very minimum to digitize this thing, these documents. Then it'll be preserved. But currently, right now, it's not the case. We have in our collection the amount of books that the city was going to toss out, historical documents from the early 1800s on. We have hundreds of them. They're massive. Some of them weigh 20 pounds a book. That's how they kept ledgers back in those days. They all need to be digitized. So, having said that about the minutes that are in the storage in the arena, I understand there's funding available that the city has to do this. I would respectfully ask that either it gets done immediately or turn it over to us to ensure that it gets done and preserved. And the third thing I would ask you is, and I do appreciate approval that happened just a few days ago for us to hire a full-time person to be able to operate an office and to begin our fundraising campaign. But when we went into Carlton Street, unfortunately, because it had sat idle for so long, the Canadian Court collection and that building was full of mold. There was no climate control going on in that building. And so what we've been trying to do is to preserve and save whatever we can save, but we've had to toss out a lot of furniture, for example, anything that's made of any cloth or things like that aren't salvageable. So we've been working very diligently at doing that. We're boxing up a lot of stuff right now. We've ordered and are now on site with 3 storage units to move things out of there so we can decontaminate that building. With the mold, we have to clean out the entire exhaust systems, the supply systems for the HVAC. Everything has to be done. The carpets have to be done. It needs a new coat of paint. And I would ask that council award me $3,000 to do that job. That concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and I'm going to open the floor up for questions to Malcolm from council. Are there any questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Didavides.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Melly, you're doing a fantastic job with that museum. Do you know what the rough cost would be to digitize all those books? Does anybody give you an estimate or anything?
Do you have some comment?
We have access to equipment free of charge through one of our members on our board who is heavily involved in this kind of work through genealogy. He's prepared to offer that to us for free. In fact, a lot of the equipment has been moved into the 2 Carlton Street because that's going to be our location of operation in order to be ready for when the museum actually opens, so we'll have all this work done. So to say what the cost will be, I couldn't give you a number at this point, Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much. But you're doing a
Maybe,
great job. I'm looking forward to seeing that museum. Is going to benefit downtown. Having all the tour buses pull up there is a really exciting time for Thorold.
As it should be, yes, thank you.
Councillor Decker, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. My understanding is that we did have some staff representatives that were sitting on the museum board. Am I mistaken, or can someone clarify that for me, please?
That is the working group regarding moving things ahead, not to sit on the actual museum board. That's on the board. How can I explain that? Hey? Working group to get the things going as far as the construction and everything else. So it's 2 different things, Councillor Decker.
Okay, so I'm assuming then that at the appropriate times, it'll come through council to see who is interested in sitting on the board with the museum?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have anyone else with questions? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thanks for your presentation, Mal. Also looking forward to it. I know I worked with Randy to try and find some spots originally, but none of them worked out. And if we have amalgamation coming, we need to preserve Thorold stuff more than ever. But my question is for you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have to wait to put 2 people on? Do we have to wait, or can we do that right now? Or a person on the board or on their board?
We have 2 people in the working group. That's Councillor D'Angelo and Councillor O'Hare.
Right.
That's already looked after. The museum board would be, and I'll turn that over to the clerk. Would that be done by next meeting?
Yeah, staff discussions were to bring some information forward in June with regards to governance.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for coming in, Mal, and congratulations to you and the museum board on achieving what you have so far, getting the ball rolling. It's going to be an exciting time. I just want to focus in on a couple of your points. Now we know that we'll be electing, putting some members of council onto the board coming up. The other number 2 point that you talked about, the minutes from the 1850s and on that need protecting, that are in the arena at present. What would you like to happen there? Do you want them to go to Carlton Street? Do we need to give them up as a council and allow them to go back to your possession? I'm not sure.
I'll let the clerk speak on this, please.
Okay.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, we do currently have some documents that are being stored there. The city did go through a recent digitization process as part of electronic document records management system. A large swath of scanning has already been completed based on grant funding from a couple of years ago. There's some additional funding that may get used to completing that work. I would recommend against releasing minutes outside of care and custody to the control of the city itself. However, there are other books there that go back to births and deaths from previous years that would be more than reasonable to provide access to under agreement, continuing ownership belonging to the city of Thorold.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, through you to the clerk, who will be able to go into those files, those stacks, and determine which ones can go to the museum and which ones are not available?
Mr. Mayor, only members of the clerk's office really have access to it, or somebody with a master key out of Public Works that can let others into the facility.
Okay. And there is no date, historic date, where it's a cutoff and you can say now these can go to the museum, or all of them, all the minutes have to remain the property of the city?
Committee minutes are permanent records of the institution.
Okay. All right.
To that point, if I could, Mr. Mayor, we've been trying to do this since 2015. My understanding is that the council back in the day turned it over to Brock University. Brock University then had it for a bit and gave it back to the city. When not the current clerk, Matthew, which I wish you well in your new venture in Hamilton, was going to throw all that stuff out. And we intervened and said, well, wait a minute, we'll take it all. That's why it's still surviving right now, or else it would have been in the dumpster. That's not the stuff that we're talking about here. The stuff that we're talking about here has been at Brock University, returned back to the city, and is stored in, was stored at the second floor on Carlton Street, but now there's construction going on. They were removed to the arena to a secure place, but they're in there with like 250 other boxes of things. Now, we don't have the resources, people-wise. We're volunteers to go in there and sort through 250 boxes and locate these things and then properly identify them and sign an agreement with the city and all this kind of stuff. I would say if the city is interested in digitizing them and you have funding that's available, that you take that initiation right away. But here's the problem. The problem is, and I understand it, your staff works with what they're doing today and construction and projects and everything moving ahead. History isn't one of the things, and without having a strong background is one of the things that is as important as other things. So it tends to get put aside. That's why when you painted this city hall, all of the artifacts that were in here were taken down and stored. And they were stored in a location that put them in jeopardy. They got flooded and they were tossed out. Now, we can't recover those things. They're gone. They're gone forever. And this is our concern, and that's why we've been pushing for this since 2015.
Okay. Any more questions? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Mr. Mel Woodhouse regarding losing artifacts. I just want to make sure the ones in the arena, even though they're in a secure place, are they in a safe place that they will not get damaged?
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would say they are currently secure, they are locked, they are on shelves, they are as protected as we can currently make them. There is climate control.
Okay, so they're not in a susceptible area where there's leakage of water, because when you say the arena, there's areas where it does leak, so it depends on if it's the new or the old. Yeah, because I agree, I don't think we should be losing any more documentation, and I don't think anything should be thrown out, because lost quite a bit over time, and it's very important that we keep that. So I think that's from a council priority. If there's a little bit of money that's required to make sure they're in a safe environment where they're not getting damaged, I think the onus is on us. And if it has to be moved or secured in a better location, because I don't want to hear 3 months, 6 months from now that there's damaged documents, because I'd rather move them now, pay for something to move them, or start digitizing them before they do get damaged beyond repair. So I guess I'm asking for that reassurance. So I'm getting that reassurance they're in a safe, secure location where they will not get damaged.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. The other question I had through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of the library board, when do they meet right now? Are they having regular meetings?
The library board?
Oh, sorry, the museum board.
We meet.
I was just seeing if he was paying attention. He is.
Hey, I was born at night, but not last night, Councillor. Yeah, we meet every fourth Thursday of the month, and we have one board. As per our Constitution, we're allowed 10 members for our board. There is one position open, and that's remained open for a member of this council to join our board. So the sooner that happens, the better, especially given the fact that we're beginning the phase of developing this new building. It's going to be important that the communication link between our board and through this council would be, it's going to be paramount. So I would ask you to, again, to expedite that. And also, if we can have an answer in terms of the money to renovate the building, to get rid of the mold.
Thank you.
Just to follow up there, I know there's two, through you, Mr. Mayor, there's two committee members, or two counselors that sit on the working group right now. You just mentioned your constitution will only allow one additional counselor. Is there an opportunity, because I know I'm interested in sitting on it.
We have two members in the working group that I think would both like to be involved.
It sort of fits well. I can't speak for the other council, but I know I would be interested in joining because, like I said, if you're doing part of the initial phase of developing the site location, to sit on the board is just a natural step, and there's more connectivity and communication going on that way. So I guess my question is: is there room for two, or is it only going to be limited to one?
As an incorporated nonprofit organization, we're controlled by our Constitution and our bylaws, which only allows 10 at this time. In order for us to expand that number, we would have to have it voted on by everybody at the annual general meeting, and you have to propose it so many days in advance so that everybody knows what they're voting on to expand that number to 10. What I can suggest is that that one member sit on the board, that's a voting member, and the other member could sit on a committee of ours that could be the communication between us and the working group in terms of the construction of the new building, if that helps you. But right now, no.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'll be captured in the report that's coming forward.
Okay.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
I seen Councilor Longo, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, I did, Mr. Mayor, but the question about the number of board members has just been answered. So hopefully the report that comes back will give us some direction. And I guess I'll just follow up. Mr. Woodhouse said that he needed $3,000 to fix Carlton Street to get it into, I guess, a safe state so you could do your work. I'm just wondering if I can ask if any staff member can give us an opinion on where we go with this. It sounds like it's pressing, so I think we should discuss it.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just recommend you wait until the report's on the floor.
Okay, we'll deal with it then, Councilor Longo, which is coming up next, okay? Anyone else with further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Malcolm, for coming to council and giving us an update and all the work you and your group are doing as we move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that's funny, you've used my real name for the first time ever in my life.
I know, but you know, when I see outside the chambers, it's going to be Mel, just so you know that.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have PWCS 59-2024. That's the Thorold Museum and Cultural Center project. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put the report on the floor? I got Councillor D'Angela and Councillor O'Hare. And now we'll get the report up. Okay. So everything is there except Councillor Longo. I don't know if you want to deal with the 3,000.
Yeah, I just want to maybe ask staff here. I read the report. It looks like we want to take $25,000 out of a municipal land and building reserve to fund two projects here. But the $25,000, if I read it properly, will come back to us because it can be used from the grant money. Is that correct?
Go ahead, Jeff or Maria.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. That's correct.
Okay, so I guess I'll follow up on this. Could we use a portion of this land reserve to fund Carlton Street for $3,000 and have that refunded since it's part of this whole process, or not?
I would say no, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we could give the museum $28,000 at this point, and it would really only eat into the reserve by $3,000?
I don't know how you want to handle that. Marie, do you want to tackle that, or Jeff? I think it's two separate items.
Oh, yeah, it would be
Through
from a
Mr. Mayor,
different
they're
reserve?
two separate properties
Yeah.
and two separate projects.
Yeah.
And they should be kept separately.
Okay, but could we fund the $3,000 from the building reserve, or would it come from a different reserve?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as this is hopefully just a one-time expenditure, you could take it out of the reserve.
Okay, I guess I'll put on the floor that we'll take an additional $3,000 from reserve for this.
Do you want to hear?
Not a fan of using reserves, but the timing of this entire project was unfortunate. We probably could have done things in a different way, but I'll put a motion on the floor, we increase it. We add another 3,000.
We're going to put it as a separate line item.
A separate line item, another 3,000.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor D'Angelo, do you want to speak, speakers to that?
Yeah, I just want to follow up on Councillor Longo's question. Like, we're just throwing a number out there, 3,000. Maybe we could direct that to staff to see if that's going to be the number it's going to take to remediate the issue that's there. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want our presenter to come back next council and say we need 3,000 more. Like, I want sort of an assurance that the 3,000 is the number that we need, as opposed to we start bouncing it around.
Jeff, do you have a handle on that one?
For you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, I was on vacation last week, so this is all kind of news to me. Although I'm pretty sure that Dave Baldoni has had a chance to at least speak with Steve Fulton about it.
Dave, are you?
There may be some more to this, and I think if you wanted to commit the funding to at least get us started, we could look at whether or not a short-term fix, given the term of the lease, makes sense, or whether we look at something that's a little bit more significant that might be dealt with in the 2025 capital budget. If it's humidity and we can deal with it through, humidifiers, then that's one thing. But if it's something involving a new furnace, new HVAC system, might be more significant.
Thank you. So basically, we're not sure at this time. That's what I gather, right? Dave, do you have anything you might want to add? You're good? Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess we're just going to give the 3,000 for, well, the 3,000 is up for debate, and we'll see where we go from there. That's okay.
Anyone else that want to speak? Right now, we're speaking to the 3,000, and then we'll speak to the motion as a whole. To the 3,000. Go ahead, Councillor Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just worried about when Mel mentioned the mold with the $3,000. Maybe we should wait to get a quote on that, because this can be a lot more than $3,000 to clean up properly. When you're dealing with mold, it gets a little pricey.
Well, I think what he's trying to do is get the ball rolling on it to start to clean up. But I'm not saying that that's going to be the number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just worried that we just have to keep on throwing money at it.
Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm good with the 3,000 for now, but my question would be through you to staff. Do we have, if it's carpets and I won't say cosmetic, but if it's stuff like that, do we have staff of ours that we could allocate to? I know everyone's busy, but can we do some of the work, I guess?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll do what we can within the confines of our approved operating budget. If there's additional resources required, we can come back to council and give them an update on what we've found and maybe a strategy moving forward. The key for the museum group is that they have a secure, reliable place to store their materials, which, as you know, they're storing at multiple locations across the city, and they want to have something that they can, that's reliable to them.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else on the amendment? On the amendment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, why don't we make it 5,000? Just get a little
because
bump
that's
on
what
it.
they asked for, 3,000. We should. We got to sometimes.
Yeah, but I'm just worried. I don't want him to come back. I'm just worried for Mel. All that work he's doing.
Listen, we asked for 3. We got 3 on the table. Staff has already said they're going to come back and with a more detailed synopsis.
I did 10.
Yeah, well, we're not in that business. But anyway, anyone else? Okay, so we're gonna deal with this first. We had a mover and a seconder for the amendment. All those,
I had to, Mr. Mayor, if I could just speak, because our next council meeting is June 18th. If this amount doesn't cover the cost, can we at least schedule a special meeting to deal with this?
Yes, I will.
Because time is of the essence here, and waiting another 20 days, if something else has to be adjusted,
if I have to call a meeting, for sure, that's, I will do it, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the amendment. We had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now the motion as a whole with the amendment added, and we had a mover and a seconder for that. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. And there'll be a report coming and we'll deal with the other. Okay. Up next, we have a City of Thorold strategic plan, and I'll call on Steve Litchie, Capital Park Consulting, for a presentation respecting the City of Thorold's strategic plan. And is he online? Or
He's online.
Okay.
Just coming into the meeting now.
Yeah.
Steve, you should be able to unmute yourself now, and you'll also have the ability to share your screen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to present this evening.
Thank
you. I will do my best to be brief.
Welcome again. You're becoming part of council, seeing you so much lately.
Oh, that's way above my pay grade.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let the council know that much of what I'm going to present this evening you will be familiar with from our previous meetings, but I realize there are people in the gallery this evening and perhaps watching online who will not be as familiar with the plan. So I will go through a brief overview just to give the background and where we're at today. I'll start with the methodology that we used. The project started just before Christmas, so it's been a 5-month process. Part of our methodology in all of our projects is to have weekly update meetings with the project authority for the client. In this case, it was the CAO. So we have been meeting every week via Zoom just to make sure that the project stays on track. The first 2 steps that we did were an environmental scan, where we did a documented review of the key documents with the City of Thorold, your previous strategic plan, some council minutes, the various plans and reports that you have. We also did research into, or secondary research into other literature, a lot of looking at what the federal government and the provincial government are doing that impacts municipalities, what your sector associations, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and organizations like CMHC, to put together an environmental scan that was documented in an interim report and shared with senior staff and with council. That interim report was intended as a briefing document to prepare them for the next step, which was the internal stakeholder engagement activities. We interviewed each member of council individually. We interviewed each member of the senior staff, and we did an online survey of the city staff. We also did external stakeholder engagement activities. There was an online survey of residents, business owners, other stakeholders. There were 4 focus groups, and you can see them on the screen: the post-secondary, the council advisory committee, the business leaders, and the community partners. The thing that we found in all of these is there was a great deal of consensus of common ground with all of the different groups, both internal and external. We used the results of this work for 3 workshops that we had. First one was with staff, just to make sure we hadn't missed anything in our earlier work, trying to identify if there were any conflicts. We didn't find any, and to prepare for the workshop with members of council and the senior staff that was held the next day. That was a fairly in-depth training session where we went through a lot of things, including a SWOT analysis and looking at examples of good strategic plans from similar municipalities. From the results of that, we then had another session with the staff to look at the operational plan workshop, which was really looking at what projects staff felt they had the capacity to complete over the next 3.5 years. We then drafted the first draft of the strategic plan and the operational plan. It was an iterative process that kept being reviewed by various stakeholders, and we kept making revisions until we got a fairly close to a final draft. The final drafts were presented last week. We again met with members of council, and we also had 2 public open houses, one in the afternoon of May 22nd and one in the evening. And based on the comments received, we made some changes to both of the plans. I should let council know that there was nothing significant removed. There was nothing significant added. There was quite a bit of wordsmithing, of tweaking. We wanted to make things as clear as possible. Sometimes people wanted to use a stronger verb. We think that the input that came in was quite helpful, and it strengthened your plan. It's better than it was before. And the last step will be council approval, which we're hopeful of obtaining this evening. When we did the environmental scan, the one thing that really stood out was the growth, the population growth in the city of Thorold. So you're looking on the left of that screen is the population from the last 5 censuses in Canada, 2001, 2006, 11, 16, and 21. And you'll notice that for that first 15 years, there was really very little change in the population. It actually went down sometimes. And over that 15-year period, the growth was just a bit over 1/4% per year, or essentially no growth. From 2016 to 2021, it jumped a lot. It jumped nearly 27%, which is over 5% per year. Not surprisingly, that growth caught people by surprise. The city's services did not keep up. And that was one of the themes that came through quite a bit. And it's one of the main areas of focus in the new strategic plan. Should also point out that although we don't have census data since 2021, we do have access to other data which indicates that the rapid growth is continuing. And it's expected to continue for the foreseeable future, or at least for the life of the new strategic plan. When we talk about areas of consensus with stakeholder engagement, we mean all of the stakeholders, both internal and external. Doesn't matter if it was the resident survey or if it was the focus groups, the interviews with council, the interviews with staff, everyone agreed, acknowledged that the city's growth has outpaced the provision of services. There was some understanding of the reasons for that, like I just went over, but there's also an expectation that the new strategic plan will address that and fix that. It was also noted that residential growth has outpaced the provision of commercial amenities, and that's not uncommon in any municipality. Commercial organizations want to see more residential growth before they invest in something, but the lag is becoming more than what people want to see, and I'd like to see it catch up. Very, very strong voice for a livable community. That means a lot of different things. It means being able to walk to a lot of the services, or at least get there by active transportation. It means having access to public transportation. It means preserving your green space, having trees. There's an awful lot involved in a livable community. People like Thorold, but they want to keep it. They want to keep it as a great place to live. In any satisfaction survey that's conducted, whether it's at a workplace or a social group or a municipality, communication is always one of the biggest complaints, and Thorold is no exception. Residents would like to see better communication, which will lead to higher resident engagement, and you'll see in the strategic plan there are quite a few aspects that should accomplish that. But I don't think you want to forget that Thorold is recognized as a great place to live, a great place to work, but people will think it can be even better. The areas of focus that were identified by the stakeholders, and again, this was all of the stakeholders, both internal and external, that all 4 of the focus groups identified this. It came through in many of the surveys, the majority of the surveys. It certainly came through in the interviews with council and with staff. And what we've been able to do is weave all 6 of these into the new strategic plan. I want to talk briefly about the vision, mission, and value statements. The vision is supposed to be an articulation of the ideal state for Thorold. The previous vision statement, there was nothing wrong with the content, but it was quite long, not particularly memorable. And if it's too long to remember, it's not going to be terribly inspirational. So there was some work that was done, and as a consensus, we reached a new vision statement, a vibrant community growing together. Sometimes you want to avoid ambiguity in a strategic plan, and sometimes it's a good thing. And in this case, I think the phrase growing together is a good thing, because it could mean growing larger with more population, or it could mean growing together and being more cohesive. And if you look across the screen to values, you'll see teamwork. And one of the values that you have is understanding that the best work happens when everyone works together. The mission statement, that's supposed to be more in the present day. What is the purpose of council and the purpose of staff? Why do you come to council meetings? Why do staff come into work? 3 instructions: building community, embracing opportunity, shaping the future of Thorold. And if you do those 3 things, Thorold should be a vibrant community growing together. Like I said, both the vision and the mission statement are quite new, quite different from the ones in the previous plan. Doesn't change a lot of the sentiment, but makes them shorter and hopefully more memorable. On the right side of the screen are the values. Those are very close to what you had in the previous strategic plan. They were tweaked a little bit, but they're very similar. And you'll find that values don't really change for a community very much over time. They evolve, but they evolve slowly. Strategic plan sets out strategic priorities, goals, and actions. And you'll see what we've been able to do is take those 6 areas of focus and include them in the priorities and the goals. What's missing from this slide are the actions. They're in the strategic plan, but it'd be too crowded on the screen. It would take quite a bit of time to go through all of them. But you'll see that if your strategic priority is to have a vibrant and prosperous community, it must be a livable community, you need economic prosperity, and you have to be working on community well-being. And it's the same with the others, the service delivery excellence and the sustainability. I will talk briefly about the sustainability. You'll see that there's 3 different prongs to it. There's the sustainable infrastructure. One of the biggest challenges for all the municipalities across Canada is trying to keep your infrastructure sustainable. And that's both the physical infrastructure and the programs. And so every municipality is working on that. It is a challenge. Of course, financial sustainability goes without saying. I think most people are aware that municipalities cannot run deficits. You must have a balanced budget. I'm not sure if everyone is aware of how much inflation has impacted municipalities. You tend to look at the consumer price index and see it's 3 or 4%, and not realizing that a lot of the municipal expenditures, things like fire trucks or other heavy equipment, those costs have essentially doubled over the last 5 or 6 years. The cost of asphalt has gone up far, far more than the consumer price index. It is a struggle for the municipalities, but you have to find a way to keep your budget balanced. And environmental sustainability is also very important. There's a number of things that are woven through the strategic plan on environmental sustainability. I'm going to talk about that in a minute because I'm not saying we did everything that was requested, and I'll give the reasons why. And we'll start with what Dr. Roger Martin said about strategic planning, that making strategy choices is never easy because it means doing some things at the expense of others. When we met in April, we looked at some really good strategic plans to find things that you like. What we didn't do is show you some of the really bad strategic plans. One of the most common problems that municipalities have is they're too ambitious. They write down everything that people ask for, and you can't do it all. You have to pick the ones that are the most important and focus on those. The other challenge can be if you do things that are going to have some controversy that you're not going to be able to get through because there's going to be too much debate about it. What is in the strategic plan as it's before you? We believe there is a broad consensus that people like what's in there. I'm going to mention one thing which I thought was interesting. I mentioned that we tweaked some parts of it. In the public meetings, it was mentioned several times that people really like the strategic questions that are near the end of the plan. They thought they're a good addition, and they think they're going to be very helpful. We tweaked question number 3 to make it clear that when you're looking at the cost of a project, it's not just the capital cost today, but capital costs in the future for replacement or whatever. And it's not just the capital cost, but it's also the operating costs. And we did that in the context of a discussion around the multi-use turf that most people in the city want, but not everybody. And I think you're all aware that everyone wants a swimming pool until it's time to pay the bills to operate the swimming pool. Everybody wants more arenas until it's time to pay the bills. So the concern is if you're going to have a multi-use facility, multi-use turf constructed, make sure you're doing it with your eyes open. And this is not to talk in opposition to the turf field or in support of it. It's just to mention that It illustrates the value of the strategic questions, but it's also something which it is not 100% consensus. The other area which there was not a consensus on was climate change, and you had a discussion on that this evening. I thought it was interesting that the one presenter gave 2 examples of things you could do. The first was planting trees, and that's in your strategic plan. The other was composting, and you have waste reduction in your strategic plan, which is multifaceted and includes composting. So there's quite a bit of that in the plan, but there was not a consensus as to how far you should go. I'm not going to go through the entire strategic plan in the interest of time, and I think you just went through it last week. I do want to point out several things, though, to people who may not have seen this before. This is the cover. You'll see it's for 2024 to 2027 and beyond. The reason for the and beyond is a lot of the things that are here are not going to be completed. You're not going to check them off the list in December 2027. Like a livable community and sustainability are things that are going to continue well past 2027. It's looking at a 3.5-year time period, which is a bit over a year past the life of this current council. The new council will then have about 14 months to either refresh the plan or draft a new plan, but they'll have something to work with when they first get elected. All the photos that are in the strategic plan are from the city of Thorold. There are no stock photos. And one of the most important things is a municipality is required under AOTA, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, to ensure that their documents that are outward facing are accessible to anyone in the public who has some type of visual impairment. So this plan your computer can read it to you, and it can also describe what the photos and what the graphics are about. So thank you for your attention. I'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Steve, and I'll open the floor for council. Has any questions? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Just for clarity, Mr. Mayor, like if we want, can we change something on here, or is this our final plan with no change?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, at present, this is just questions to the presenter.
Yeah. Okay.
Questions to the presenter right now.
Okay, well, there's a couple changes I want, so I'll wait till an opportunity to discuss that. I don't really have a question to the presenter. I thought he did a really good job, and he picked up, like I had suggested, I think there was 8 comments I made at our last session, and he implemented 7 of them. I got one more I got to discuss, but I thought he did a good job overall putting it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, I want to thank you, Steve, for all your work and all the sessions and everything that went into putting this plan together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with council and the staff.
Okay, so CAO 4 2024 strategic plan 24 to 27 and beyond. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put it on the floor? Councillor Sentence and Councillor Didavides. And I'll put it on the floor. Manoj, do you have anything to add before I open the floor for questions?
No, Mr. Mayor, I would like to thank council. We had 3 consultation sessions with council, the individual interviews. We have a couple of workshops with council. We have extensive public consultation. So as our consultant has mentioned, this is in some cases we have diverging views, so we are able to converge into that. So if we are going to make some more changes, I don't know what the extent of the changes are. If there are cosmetic, certainly we can move. But I think that this document has been put together considering all the input from the public, from focus groups, of course from council and from senior staff. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now I'll open the floor for questions. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to delay this, but the way we met last time, we met in 2 groups, and Councillor D'Angelo pointed out he asked for 8 changes. I brought up a few things. Do we know exactly what's been changed in this final version from the draft that we saw a week ago?
I don't have a track changes document with us, but what we have heard from council, my understanding is everything has been incorporated in. So, but I'm not surprised that Councilor D'Angelo is saying that one element is not included in, so.
Okay, but the three things that I mentioned in our group, I had seen it been changed, but I don't know if what Councilor D'Angelo had put forward, because I wasn't in that group.
So, if you want to share, Councilor D'Angelo, we can.
Yeah, I can, thank you, Mr. Our CEO, Manoj Tiwalia. Yeah, I can explain exactly which ones I asked for changes. Some were wordsmithing. If you want to start with the operational plan, under vibrant, prosperous community, I indicated that one of the ones that they changed, and it was more wording, was develop a strategy that identifies city housing needs, objectives, and approaches. We need to be clear on that, because housing is not a mandate of municipal council, but we can develop some policies and try to massage it to move it in the area that we want. It's, Niagara Regional Housing, or the region is responsible for housing, and it's funded federally and provincially at times, so it's not our specific mandate. So that one got reworded so that it's clear. I took the approach when I was looking at this is I'm an individual in our community just reading this, and this is what I want to see what council does. Because at the end of the day, this is what council is going to be judged on. Did we accomplish what we said we were going to do and, as a collective body? So the other one was, and they didn't include it, was explore the viability of constructing a multi-use turf field. Again, I would wordsmith it more of a development of it, but exploring viability, I'm okay with that. It captures the essence of where we're going, so yeah. I'm not going to argue that one.
And that, you brought up that as well, Councillor.
Yes.
In our, yeah,
yes.
Yeah, in the housing, so both of those, yeah.
Yeah, along with the multi-use trail, it was the same conversation. This is the one that didn't get included here, it was upgrade baseball park facilities. Baseball's been always at the short end of the stick all the time, and they haven't had a lot of money put into their facilities. They're aging. They don't meet the needs of some of the baseball players, so that's something we really have to do. The reason I wanted in this plan is because when the Canada Summer Games came around touting the event, they were going to put money into McMillan Park. That never happened. So sometimes when I don't see it in writing, it doesn't happen. So that was the multi-use facility was for soccer and other sports, and then baseball also needed some upgrades. And we've seen an expansion in baseball where they built out into Port Robinson a park there that wasn't baseball standard. So I need to see that in writing to make sure that it gets followed up on. And council has committed a little bit more money, but it needs to stay in that plan, because I don't want to hear, well, it's not part of the plan. So, and I know the consultant tried to capture a lot of this when he said implement the recommendation of the parks, trails, and recreation master plans, but some of these items weren't included. The turf field wasn't. So I think in the plan we need to be a little bit more specific. The other one was the wording of working with, it has here, partner with Niagara Transit to expand transit service. Again, transit service is not our jurisdiction. Niagara Transit's responsible for that service, but as a community, we want that expansion. We want areas that are growing to have that ability. So we need to work with Niagara Transit. It's again, not ours, just being a little bit more clear and transparent. Other ones were just wordsmithing. One was about the election strategy. It should be more of a plan, so it's been implemented as a plan, because every 4 years we have to have an election here, and the clerk's office has to run that properly, which they've always done in the past and will continue to do so. The other one was, in this one where I wanted, again, a little bit more wording, it was under sustainability, sustainable infrastructure. Implement the recommendations of the cemetery master plan. Again, if I'm just a general person, and I know Councillor Sentence talked about this as having links to our master plan, so anyone who really wants to get into this can go to that site, then link onto it and go to the master plan and then read all 150 pages of it and get further information. I think that's something that council, this particular one, council have been really, really working on this, expanding the mausoleum, and again, for lack of better words, construct a cemetery customer care center, because that's what we are. We're putting a new administrative building there to deal with cemetery issues. Again, I'd like to see that highlighted in there as wording in it. It's not a major thing, but it could be put under the point of implementing the recommendations of the cemetery master plan. So those are just a bit of tweaks. I like to see those added in only because it provides a little bit more clarity for the average person who's reading this, and they could judge us a little better knowing that we're trying to accomplish what we're saying in here. So those were the major ones I talked about. A few other wordsmiths ones, but nothing too egregious. And the other one was the, and I don't have it in front of me, we talked about trees. Just developing a municipal tree program. And I changed it to municipal because we want to encompass green areas, not just boulevards. It was a whole encompassing of putting trees wherever we can, not just specifically for boulevards on city, like particularly, not necessarily just city property where there's roads, but also environmentally sensitive areas where we do put some extra trees in there, as been displayed when we did it at the cemetery, right? So those are the items I sort of brought up. Unfortunately, I wish we were together because then we could have discussed them a little bit more and made a little bit more, made it a little bit easier. But overall, my stuff was really captured in there, and I do thank our CAO and also the consultant for doing that. Just the two that I liked a little bit reworded at this point in time.
Can I answer, Mr. Mayor?
You go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, Councillor D'Angelo, thank you very much for clarifying some of these points. And we spoke with our consultant, and as most of it has been captured, I was not even aware of this upgrade baseball facilities. If I would have been aware of it, we could have added in. And the way I think we probably could have covered it, that there is a thing called implement the recommendation in parks, trails, and rec master plans. But if council agrees to add that upgrade baseball fields, I think we can add it depending on if council is willing to do it. So that's fine. All the other changes that you are suggesting are already incorporated in. And yes, we know about the linking to the master plan. What we'll do is when the final document is put in place on our website, we will hyperlink our master plan so that if somebody wants to click on it, they can get more details on it. So thank you.
Just the other one, just don't forget the one with the mausoleum and the customer care center, if that could be worded in there, not just update the cemetery master plan.
So if you have some wording, let us know, and then we can get council, and we can incorporate that in this.
Yeah, I could give that to you after.
Okay, perfect.
But it's already there, just a little bit fine tuning.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Go ahead, Councillor Dumas.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, can we also get soccer on the radar with baseball? Soccer actually is the #1 participating sport in Thorold, and I don't want to leave them behind. I agree with Councillor D'Angelo, but if we could just piggyback the soccer program.
Sure.
And they're not, they don't ask for much. They're pretty low-key and self-sustaining.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we can upgrade baseball and soccer facilities?
That would be awesome.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Anything else?
Sound good? Go ahead, Councillor Heyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments if there are no questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So just a quick one on the clarity point here. The cemetery master plan is about a 12-page document, so it's not as comparable to the parks and trails. So it is a little bit more accessible. The second thing I want to speak about, and Steve touched on this, there's some very good work in the strategic plan. I agree with a lot of it. I think we are falling short with the environmental sustainability. It's kind of the vanilla version. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a harder stance on climate protection, some steps and plans that we could have presented to look out for over the next few years and being true leaders. So just a comment in that direction.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to wrap it up, so we will, I guess, if council adopt it, we will make a couple of changes. One is the implement the recommendation of cemetery master plan. We will add the mausoleum in there, so that one, and then we will add under livable communities and other items pertaining to upgrading baseball and soccer facilities. Okay.
Is there anything else? Okay. We got a mover and a seconder. Those items are going to be looked after. Is everybody good with that? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Delegations. Members of council, delegation item 10-1 is an item of written correspondence respecting McMillan Park. Unless there are any questions, I'm going to recommend that staff be directed to report back to council on the request. Can I get a mover and a seconder? I got Councillor Hanley and Councillor Sentence. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That, the item that's being referred to staff, that's heavily involved with the Niagara District School Board. So when staff reports back, that's who I see working diligently. It's to help facilitate some issues revolving the school and working with that. So if they're not heavily involved in that document, or at least looking at paying for a lot of the extra work that needs to be done, I'd be very disappointed, because, like I said, we're trying to address one of their issues from a municipal standpoint, but it is a school board issue. And I applaud the person for bringing that forward, to letting us know so that we could work through this. But I think the school board has to play the largest role in working.
Staff's aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Iyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not sure if it's appropriate, but I want to ask anyway if council could approve my involvement with staff. I've met with Ms. Sadowski regarding this matter. I understand some of the concerns and some of the challenges that she is facing, and it may be useful to have a council member, but I leave that at your discretion and council's discretion as well.
Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
I'll put a motion in. We involve a councillor, and if Councillor O'Hare is already involved, then put him on. Is that okay with staff? Yeah? Okay.
Is there anyone have any comment on that?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I'm going to say it because I see on the other faces of my councillors. Now, is council going to be involved with staff to write the report, or
no?
Or like, I just need to know the line that's like,
right.
Like, you know, we're policy setters. We're not there. We can assist if staff has questions and wants to ask us. More than willing, we do that on a lot of different things. But I don't want to by putting a motion on the floor, now we're saying that a councillor has to work with staff on getting this report.
Councillor's not working with staff to write the report. Councillor's there for consultation if they need them. Am I correct? And you're good with that, Jeff?
Well, I just want to make
sure
that...
The report's being done by staff, not by a council. Okay?
Okay. Just responding to the faces I see.
Well, I'm just giving you an answer and telling you that this is a staff report, not a council report. Okay? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, that was on the amendment. So you're going back to the report.
Okay, to the report. Sorry about that. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Report DS 25, 2024, respecting property cleanup 13200 and 13210 Lundy's Lane. I'll call on Harsha and J. Prakash Nirmani, property owners, for their delegation to report DS 25-2024. And are you speaking on this? Your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Harsha Nimrani. Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, councillors. And thank you for giving me the chance for talking on the cleanup matter. Again, I will say I am representing Jayaprakash also. Jayaprakash is not here. So myself, Harsha Nimrani, and Jayaprakash Nimrani is the owner of the 2569348, situated at 13210 Lundy's Lane, Thorold, since 2017. And in the last council meeting also, I brought up the issue that I have received a bill almost $32,000, which is more than 4 times which is city and bylaw officer has forces on the property within a week notice we didn't receive the mail in our hand. Another thing, we have provided lot of evidence that on our property, the garbage bills have gone from $125 to $500. We have provided the bill to the city for the evidence. And we have provided multiple videos that people are coming and throwing the garbage on our property, and we have called the police officers to inform that thing, and people are telling shamelessly that you are not putting any notice that this is, you cannot throw the garbage. I think so on the private property is well understandable that you don't go and throw the garbage on someone else's property. So I am here as an innocent owner being penalized because people are not well educated. Despite of educated, they are still doing the mental illness of throwing the garbage, taking the garbage from their home, bringing on my property, and I have to pick up that garbage, paying extra bills. Top of that thing, bylaw officers coming and penalizing us on those bills is really not fair. I sent the videos to the city, but they told they cannot put it on the internet because due to the legislative matter, because they cannot disclose their number plates and their people faces and all that matter. I request to councils and mayors that please kindly waive these charges, penalty and any interest, and do not add on my property tax bills. I am already behind on my property tax payments because it was already added on my property tax bill, and I'm already occurring the interest on that property tax bills. And another thing is, as everybody is well aware about, the economy is not doing that great. We are hardly paying our bills. We are really struggling to run the businesses. And officer itself, he told me, make sure you guys show the video to council and mayor that how the people are coming and throwing the garbages. I showed today personally to Mr. Jason also how the people are doing on the property. And another thing also, the zoning, last time also we told that has not been changed. It's still the parking lot has been allocated. Those paperwork is also being provided to Jason. So last time they told they towed the trucks on our property without notice, and they are sending us the bills of towing the trucks of somebody else. So if some people are doing, we shouldn't be penalizing for that. They should be well educated. These people should be charged, not me as a owner working day and night to run my business and to pay my bills. I am not irresponsible owner. I'm well responsible owner. I'm taking care. I'm paying 3 times cost higher to pick up the garbage. Every Friday, I don't live on this property. They come and throw their furniture. They are coming and throwing their, you name it, and everything is there. And I keep paying the bills. And bylaw officer telling it's my garbage. It's not my garbage. People are doing. That's why I have caught it the red-handed. And I've given the evidence to police officers, and I've shown the videos to Mr. Jason too. So I highly request mayor and councils to please consider my request, because we don't make that much money that we can afford to pay this kind of big bill on my property. So I really request that please do not add this bill to my property tax bill, and so I can start paying my property tax bill back as a pre-authorized as I was doing it. Neither it's a big problem for us. Like, we cannot do it. We cannot pay this bill. So I hope you guys understand my situation. And I have like 2 autistic kids too also. We really work hard to pay. We need to do that treatment. We cannot paying $32,000 like that. We really don't have that kind of money.
Okay, Harsha,
Thank you.
Thank you, and are there any questions from council to the presenter? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter. Thank you for coming in. I'm a little confused by the letter that you were sent that you said you didn't get. Who picked it up? Somebody from your organization had to have picked it up. That's my understanding, Jason, that somebody had to have picked up the letter, or no?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the order was sent by registered mail, and Canada Post requires that either the individual whom the mail is addressed to or the representative pick up registered mail and sign for it.
And it was picked up?
That is correct. On
Okay.
October 16th, 2023.
So nobody from your organization picked it up?
No. As per my knowledge, neither myself, Harsha, or my husband, Jayaprakash, we haven't received those letters. And when we came to know, the bylaw officer was already enforcing those rules on the property, and we were treated very rudely at that time. We informed to Jason also at that point. So, and
Okay.
even if you guys if you call somebody quotation, this will not costing more than $2,000. How $32,000 bill is coming? I'm really surprised.
Okay.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you have any further questions? Councillor DeRose, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Harsha. Harsha, you said you had video evidence of people dumping stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I can show you.
And you said you forwarded it to the police and Jason, so I think just a word to staff, I think these people should be dealt with harshly. That's ridiculous, but yeah, I empathize with you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the presenter. When you present this to the Niagara Regional Police, what do they suggest you do? Are they doing anything with the illegal dumping that's happening on your property?
I have done my precautions from my side because, where was my garbage bin was there, I was not able to see. So what I did intentionally, I have put it right in the front of the place where we can see the people from the glass window. So I have alerted my staff also that we need to make sure, and we started putting a lock so that we can come to know that how much is our garbage and who is coming and dumping the garbage. So today, in fact, it is today's morning incidents. I called to the police today this incident happened, and the guy is shamelessly telling me on my face, "Oh, I'm not alone, the one person who is dumping the garbage on your property. There are multiple of people who is keep doing it." So the police officer told him, if this is the ongoing issue, so then we need to involve the city and please keep calling us back. So we need to start charging them again and again. So if they are not listening us, so city should be involved in this. So go and inform to the city. Police officer highly recommended me, go and show this video to the city today itself. I told I am going to go. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask staff this question.
There'll be when the report comes out.
Okay, I'll wait till the report.
Just questions to the presenter right now. Go ahead, Councillor.
Through you,
Questions only.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So when the police get there, they have the license plate and they don't.
They have the license plate, but when I called 911, they told me, don't interfere. If he wants to leave the property, you're not supposed to legally liable to stop him. All you just take this photo and video and record it and show to the police officer. And I tried to, he was trying to having arguments with me, but then he left, and because I followed the legal rules that I didn't stop him, I took the video and I took his license plate and gave it to the officer. This is what the person looks like, and this is what his license plate is.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor DeRose, go ahead.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. Harsha, just one more question.
Yeah.
Have you tried, because something similar happened, I mean, not as severe as yours. The regional bylaw, the region's bylaw department?
I haven't, but
Yeah, they helped me when, long story, but because their person didn't like the speed bump and throwing garbage. And I caught them, and region bylaw dealt with them pretty severely, just to let you know. That's an option.
I would be, definitely.
Further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much for coming to council and your presentation, Arjun.
Thank you.
Now the report will come on the floor. That's DS 25-2024 property cleanup 13200 and 13210 Lundy's Lane. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? Councillor Hanley, can I get a seconder for the report? Councillor Dedavides. Okay, so the report's on the floor, and there you see it, and Jason's here to answer any questions. Did you have questions now, Councillor D'Angelo?
Yeah, to you, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask our director, what can we do to help this individual if the police is saying go to the municipality to get some help here? What can we do for the illegal dumping? Is it now going to the region to talk to their waste management? You can give us some insight of how we can help this going forward, at least?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor D'Angelo. I was shown a video late today with regards to somebody dumping on the property or throwing garbage out on the property. If the City of Thorold's bylaw enforcement division receives evidence of that happening, then the bylaw enforcement division can investigate and potentially lay penalties on the individual. It depends on the circumstances. I don't want to say 100% that will happen, but it's something we can look into. I'm not sure what authority the Niagara Regional Police has, if any, on a matter like this, but I don't believe, and Councillor DeRose identifies that he has experience with this, so I may stand corrected, but I don't believe the regional bylaw staff would deal with dumping on private property, more on public property, to the best of my knowledge.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I guess my question is, so video and a license plate, is that good enough for bylaw to move forward with some sort of charge?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's certainly enough for us to investigate, but there would be a lot more involved. We'd have to figure out whether or not the person who was doing the dumping was the property or the vehicle owner. We'd have to be able to tie the two together. We'd have to be able to prove that the person dumping wasn't associated with the property owner. If we're going to lay penalties, we have to be able to find the person. We've been finding that there's a lot of stolen plates on vehicles around here these days. So I don't want to say 100% that penalties would be charged or laid, but there is the possibility, and it would certainly allow us the opportunity to investigate, if nothing else.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions on the report? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Jason. Jason, I believe last time this issue came forward, there was a request to try to find out whether or not we could determine who had signed for the registered mail. Was that attempted? Was there any luck at that?
Through the Mayor to Councillor O'Hare, we did receive confirmation from Canada Post that the registered mail was signed for, and we did receive the name. I'll maybe refer to the clerk to identify whether or not we are able to disclose that in open session or not. The name of an individual who signed for mail.
Mr. Mayor, I'd suggest not knowing the answer myself, that the answer would be no.
I would agree.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask, was it a family member?
So, through the Mayor, we don't know what relation there is. All that we have to go on is Canada Post identifying that it would have to be a representative of those who the mail is delivered to. And I believe their practice from conversations they've had with staff is that the same mailing address would be required by the person who is signing for the mail.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from council on this report? Okay. So you see that on the floor. We had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Up next, we have report PWCS 57-2024 respecting turf field locations. I'll call on Janice Sargent, Principal of Thorold Secondary School, for a delegation respecting report PWCS 57-2024 concerning turf field locations. And welcome, Janice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, and staff. I had a slideshow. I'm not sure if that's coming up. Okay. So I am Janice Sargent, Principal of Thorold Secondary School, here to talk to you tonight about together. And if we can go to the next slide once you're ready. So I had the pleasure of presenting the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Advisory Committee earlier. And I'm here to speak about their recommendations. In particular, I'm here to speak about recommendation 3, where they recommend that the City of Thorold continue to work with the DSBN to provide additional physical education and recreational programming for youth. So as luck would have it, I think I might have a solution in that I would like to present a solution to this recommendation. For some time now, the DSBN has been working with the City of Thorold and their councillors to purchase the property called McMillan Park and to build a turf field for our school's physical education classes, our special education classes, and all of our clubs and teams. This would serve the community as another great outdoor facility for youth and adult recreational programming after school and on weekends. TSS is the only high school in our community, as you know, and as you very well know, we are growing. We offer great academic programming and pathways for all of our students, and we also have a pretty amazing, thriving extracurricular program offering things like varsity football, boys and girls soccer, flag football, ultimate frisbee, track and field, and cross country. That's right. What do all of these things have in common? They need a field. But unfortunately, that is something we don't have, and that's why I'm here tonight. If I could have the new slide, please. So as principal of TSS, I have the duty and really the moral obligation to continue to advocate for my students. So in early March this year, I sent another letter to the City of Thorold to inquire about purchasing the lower half of McMillan Field, where we could still build a great outdoor learning space for learning and for play for our students, and McMillan Ball Diamond would stay as it is. To make this happen, the land must be sold to the DSBN, so we are able to build that field. The DSBN has the expertise and knowledge. We have been building turf fields for many years now at all of our secondary schools. In fact, Thorold Secondary School is the only secondary school without a field, no field. We want the same amazing outdoor opportunities for our students, and we believe there's a chance now to make this happen. New slide, please. Recently, the city has approved a 2.9% tax increase and is looking to improve facilities in this city. So I believe there's a mutually beneficial solution here. Sell this portion, the lower portion of the land, to the DSBN and allow us to build a great outdoor learning space, which students can use every day, our teams and clubs after school, and it provides the community with a state-of-the-art facility for the recreational programming we absolutely need here in Thorold. Again, it's easy to see the mutual benefits. One, the money the city makes from the sale can be used to fund other recreational facilities, such as, perhaps, the recommendation for a turf field in the Rolling Meadows area, or whatever you choose to do with it, because it provides the city with a little more influx of cash. Two, the DSBN can proceed with building a turf field for TSS, fully paid for by the DSBN. Students will benefit every single day, and it provides the city with a potential second facility to run community programming. With this plan, Thorold could see 2 great outdoor fields being built, and one at no cost to the already stretched taxpayer. Both booming areas of Thorold can see new fields. It's a win-win. New slide, please. I wanted just to quickly share with you the projected enrollment of TSS. By 2032, our school is expected to have over 1,000 students. I know how much the city of Thorold has done to attract families to our great city. They are here, and we want to be able to provide the best academic and athletic program for them. TSS, new slide, please. So TSS has been around for 150 years. We're not going anywhere. This year alone, this is important, we welcomed over 120 new families to our school. 50% of these students were not from Niagara. More families are choosing Thorold as their home and TSS as their home school. And as they move to this city, we need to provide quality curricular and extracurricular programs for them. DSBN has already committed $8 million in renovations to the school. That work has already begun. The DSBN wants to invest more money in TSS to build a field, and I know that with all of your support, this is something we can make happen for the kids and families of Thorold. Next slide, please. So really, the big story here is how many people it could impact and the effect it could have. There's thousands of youth that would benefit from a turf field at TSS, not only our current students, but over 9,500 students in the next 10 years. That number really explodes when you take into consideration that while the school utilizes the field facility during the school day, there really is potential for community use most weeknights and weekends. I believe this needs to be a priority for our community. From previous conversations, we know that the city's minor sports, some mentioned tonight, such as soccer, baseball, flag football, were supportive of this idea. As we all know, Thorold is centrally located in Niagara, center of the universe, I call it when I'm describing my hometown, a great place to hold regional teams and practices. Well, that brings lots of people into the downtown core, which I know this city has done a lot of work on. The BIA supported the sale of the land because they realized the potential for great night and weekend traffic all year round with a turf field located in this particular area. New slide, please. So, I'm doing everything I can to try to create the best learning spaces for our students and the best high school in the city of Thorold. Not only for our current students, but for our students of future generations in this community. It's not their fault that we're a historic building and we were built in this place. And unfortunately, we keep growing and there's a parking lot instead of a field. So I ask you, how can we do this together? Every day I have a group of students who's really since the beginning of the school year have crossed the road and gone over to the lower half of McMillan Park. And they play soccer there every single day at lunch. They were playing in the snow. They play in the rain. They love to be outside. They're happy. It's a good space for them. They take their backpacks with them and they use them for goalposts. They don't ask for much, but they deserve better. And I believe that we can build a community together if we can embrace this opportunity and we can all help shape the future of Thorold together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Janice, and I'm going to open the floor up for questions to Janice. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not that I do not support, I'll ask a question, no comment. You state that there will be no cost to the city. So DSBN would buy the land and also pay for the relocation of the splash pad and the playground facility that's presently there? Because that's a big part of our community. The community's growing. And you say, well, you're probably going to say we take the sale of the land and use that money to build a new splash pad and a new playground. So that would still be a cost to the taxpayers. So what's your plan to do with the splash pad and the playground? Where are we going to put it?
Do I just respond? Okay. Just making sure.
He's asking you, so I'm
yeah, through
okay.
you. Yeah,
so to answer you, Mr. Hanley, the cost of the build of the field would not be at the cost of the taxpayer. The DSBN would build the field as we have done in many communities. The relocation of those items that you've mentioned would be something that the city would have to decide.
Okay, and my second point would be then, as a taxpayer, we already pay school taxes to cover those expenses and that stuff, the school board. So this would be putting a burden on the taxpayer for a school initiative. I know you say there's no other turf field in Thorold, but could you tell me what other municipalities have subsidized a turf field for the district school board of Niagara?
I believe that the city of St. Catharines and one of the elementary schools had some sort of collaboration. I can't speak to the fact if it was a turf field or not, Mr. Hanley, but I know that there have been other communities that work with the DSBN.
Yeah, but you don't know if there was any costs associated with them to the taxpayer?
I'm the principal of Thorold Secondary School. I'm not their financial accountant.
Okay, so, all right, thank you. Again, when I can comment, Mr. Mayor, I will.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Sent. You had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I love this idea personally. My question to you is if you could just keep in touch with staff and keep working with staff on this. So that's my question to you. Can you do that?
Is that a question, Councillor?
Yeah, can you do that?
I can absolutely do that,
Yeah, always
Councillor
gets me on the
Sentence, and I would
question. There
be
you go.
very happy to do that. And I appreciate the work that we're doing. Thank you.
Councillor Dedovitis is next, and then Councillor
Through you,
Diaz.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Janice. Thank you for coming in here. I just have a question. How many students are in Thorold High right now?
We are just under 700, approaching 700 next year, so growing.
Oh, that's a lot of. And I know this is not just a DSBN issue, it's for our community too. How will we impact our community with this field?
Well, I can just speak to maybe some experiences I've had at other schools. I was lucky enough to be at another school in Niagara when a turf field was built. And at that school, I would see our students out there during the day. I would see elementary school students coming over for their big events and using that as well. And then I would see, as soon as our school events were done, teams like the city's soccer team coming to use the field. I would see the lacrosse team using the field. So I think there's a tremendous impact for all of the youth.
And do you get a lot of parents wanting this field coming up to you, talking about it in the community, taxpayers that want this done?
Yeah, we have tremendous support from our school council and also our parents. And we also have a lot of support from the students at our school as well, who really, really believe, and I believe that they deserve this.
Yeah. So Thorold sells you the lower level, and you build a turf field in Thorold High, and for the community. At no cost for the taxpayers, we can take that money and move the splash pad and maybe Beaver Dams Park or whatever. But we have a lot of money to take care of those needs and to help our community. So I'm really for this too.
I'm not sure if that's a question, but I can say, okay.
No. My question is that you are committing to pay for the field with no tax.
Well, the DSBN is.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's what my question is. It's not going to cost the taxpayers any money.
I know that through our work, Councillor Dedovitis, that we have tried to come up with some sort of plausible way to make this happen for many years. And we've landed at the spot that the only way the DSBN can make that investment is by owning the land. And so we come now saying we understand that maybe all of McMillan Park isn't the solution, but perhaps we can look at this new plan where it's lower, and we can look at purchasing the land so that the DSBN can pay for that field. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I got Councillor DeAngelo, and then I'm going to go to Councillor Decker after that. Okay? Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great presentation. The last answer is the one that intrigued me, because I was going to ask you the question, ownership has to be held by the DSBN. There's no other way around this. That was one of the stumbling blocks prior. So my question is, will this size of the field hold enough, does it have enough land there to have a football field there?
So to the 2 points, the first was, yes, we do need to purchase the land. So yes, you're correct with that point and the challenge from before. 2, I can't stand here in front of you and say this is the exact drawing of what the field would. We would need to investigate what the field could be once we know that there is the potential for us to purchase the land. But we do know we have enough of a size there to put in a field for the school.
Okay, all right. Those are the only 2 questions right now.
Thank you.
At this point. Thanks.
Councillor Decker, you're up next. Go ahead. And then Councillor Longo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Janice, great presentation, and I would fully support this. I guess my question is because of the playground, etc. Would it be possible and I'm not sure if this would be possible or if this is an option for the DSBN and the city to share the cost of moving that equipment, and perhaps what the cost would be. I'm just wondering if that would be an option. Has that been discussed with the city?
So we haven't had any formal conversations with the city since we put in the letter saying, hey, if you're interested in selling us the lower half. So I can't answer that without having any conversations.
Okay, I just think that would be a great conversation. I'm not sure what the cost would be to move it, but perhaps, you know, because, I mean, obviously everyone wants to see people benefit from that space. And that would be a great opportunity for Thorold High to benefit from that space. I would love to see that. I'm just hoping perhaps maybe that could be a conversation when you do speak with the right people at the city and the DSBN to see what the cost would be, share costing to move that equipment if you're going to purchase the field.
Thank you, Councillor Decker. Councillor Longo, you had your hand.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter, thank you for the presentation. Getting better looking every time as time moves on. Anyways, I do have a question.
You're speaking to the presentation or the presenter? What's happening here, Longo? Either way, I'm happy with the comment.
All right, let me start that again. I'll get right to a question. Have you had any conversation with local community user groups such as Thorold Miners Soccer regarding this?
Not since March, but we did reach out. I spoke with
Mr. Citrigno.
Gene Citrigno, sorry. I did speak with, I've spoken to Gene many times over the last year and a half that I've been involved in the conversations here. And Gene was very supportive of a new field that he hoped Thorold Soccer could access, certainly.
Okay. And I just want to go back to a question Councillor D'Angela asked. He asked about regulation size. Will you be able to fit a regulation size field on this footprint?
So I think, again, we'd have to have all of the specs from the city and understand exactly, because you know where the lot lines change. I'm kind of doing a Google map overview and placing stuff out there. So I think it's important before we commit to any answer, we have all of the right information to do so.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions of you, but I do have many of other people. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Thank you, Janice. Your enthusiasm is infectious. Being a sports person and teaching phys ed, I totally agree with this spot. I think it's a great idea. I just want to ask you something as things go forward, because I know these fields still need maintenance. Who would be responsible for maintenance? And then in turn, they would, like say Thorold Soccer Club wants to use the field, I'm sure they would have to pay for it. So who would that go through, the school board?
Yeah, so what's happened with all of our other schools is that the school board maintains that property, and then for rentals of all facilities, no different than if you rent our gym, we go through community use of schools with the DSBN. And, you know, I don't have the dollars in front of me, but I know that community use has a different price than private use, but you can find that on the DSBN website.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Move on. Go ahead, Councillor here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Janice. Janice, thank you once again for coming in. Great presentation as always. I just want to start off by just saying I do support the continued discussions as well. My first question is, can you tell me, because this seems to be on the back of some people's minds sometimes, has DSBN been making investments in TSS?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor O'Hare. The DSBN is just committed, just as in last year's budget, $8 million to the building of TSS. Some of that work has already started happening, and that work is going to continue over the next 2 years. So there's a major investment in the school. And again, knowing that they would like to invest more in purchase of land and then building a field.
Yeah, excellent. It sounds like a great win-win. And what about, have you reached out to other schools that have built a turf field and gotten some of the feedback? Is it being used? Is it successful? What's another perspective?
Sure. I think I can speak to, I was the principal at E.L. Crosley, and I got to E.L. Crosley just as the turf field was being built. So I can speak personally to the fact that almost every night that field was being used before I even left. Before I left to go home. So as soon as our teams and clubs were done with it, there were community clubs, like the soccer club in Fonthill used it. Mm-hmm. So yes, absolutely, there's a lot of community use on the fields, and that, you know, I can speak to the school. Like, community use does happen over the weekends as well through the permit community use of school program.
Great. Last question. I taught at a school with a turf field, and it was domed. Is there any thought of adding a dome? It is a wonderful opportunity for students.
We're still working on the property and building the field. We haven't really talked about covering it yet.
Next meeting.
I would say that question's way ahead of where we need to be.
Okay, all right. I just thought I'd plant the seed.
Yeah, thank you. No, so in fairness, no, there hasn't been. I do appreciate the time tonight.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I want to thank you, Janice, for coming to council and your presentation tonight.
Thank you.
We have another presentation. It's Denise Robichaud, I hope I pronounced that right, resident for a delegation respecting turf field locations report. And Denise, correct me if I pronounce your name wrong.
It's Denise Robichaud.
Robichaud, okay.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. As I said, I'm Denise Robichaud. I'm standing before you not only as a parent who has a child who is attending Thorold Secondary School, but also as a tax-paying member of this community. I can also say that there's also some other parents in this room who also have children who attend TSS and are also in support of this project that are here this evening. I recall the last election when this council was voted in. I sent out quite a few emails to members who were running for council at that time, and I specifically was asking if they would support a synthetic turf field for our high school. It was the responses that I had received that actually helped make my vote. Some of you I spoke with by phone and some by email about this very issue. I helped to vote some members of this council in with the hope that it would help to support the needs of my family and many other families that reside in Thorold who either have children attending TSS or who will eventually have children attending this high school. As parents, we want the best opportunities for our children. Currently, Thorold is one of the only municipalities in the region that does not have a school with a synthetic turf field for its students. As parents who send their children to TSS, and as tax-paying citizens, our children deserve equal access to the same amenities that other schools have. I'm aware that families that reside in Thorold, and despite Thorold High School being their identified school, attend within this jurisdiction, they found a way that have allowed their child to attend a school outside of Thorold. It's important for us to start asking why this is happening. I know that we have some of the most amazing teachers, guidance counselors, support, and administrative staff at the school. I'm honestly thankful that my children are able to attend this school. But we do not want parents or kids feeling like they need to resort to schools outside of Thorold to access a high school with amenities that would better support their athletic need. I want our youth to feel a sense of pride in their community and the school they represent. Thorold Secondary needs to be seen as a competitive high school for its athletics and a school that will be chosen by the families that live in this community because it offers equal opportunities when compared to other high schools. The DSBN has offered to partner with the city, purchase the land, and build a turf field. This can be done with the support of this council. I'm happy to hear some of the positive remarks tonight. It sounds really good, and I'm happy to hear that. The sale of the land could support the city with to use the money to invest in other facilities and to help subsidize the cost of building other parks. This solution can be achieved with the support of this council, and given how tight money is these days, as a taxpayer, I think this idea makes the most sense. The city will profit off the sale of the land and be able to invest the money back into our community. Even if this request can finally be approved by City Council, which I'm hoping it will, and a turf field can be built, I know that my own daughter, who will be in grade 12 next year, will likely not have the opportunity to benefit from this field, as she will no longer be at the high school. Yet I still stand before you because I believe, as a member of this community, that any Thorold High School student needs to have the same equal opportunities and amenities that are offered at other high schools. Students must have a safe field that is close to the school they can learn and play on every day. This can be utilized for gym classes as well as school sports teams. But it should also be noted that there are other benefits, as the field can be used by the community in the evenings and on weekends. I understand that the school location and age meant that it was not initially designed with a field, but I know that this issue can be resolved. With the support of this council, we're asking to work with the only high school in Thorold and allow the school to purchase the land so the school can be built, so the school can build a synthetic turf field that both the students and the community can benefit from. As you may recall, last year, many of our students at Thorold High School wrote letters of support for a turf field. Unfortunately, they did not get the positive response that they were hoping for. As leaders in this community, it is your job to help teach these youth that it is important for them to use their voices, advocate for change, and work together to get things accomplished. What messages are we sending all those youth who came together, wrote those letters, and tried to have their voices heard on what they would like to see in their community and at their high school? I think when we listen to the voices of our youth, we instill confidence in them to continue to use their voices and to advocate for others and changes moving forward. It is important that we show the youth in this community that their voices do matter and that they can make a difference. Interestingly enough, by the time the next election comes around, many of those high school students who wrote many of those letters will actually be of voting age and will help to elect the new council members that will represent this community. In closing, I'm asking you today to please see the value and the importance this turf field would bring to the students of Thorold Secondary School and the positive impact that a turf field of our own at TSS would have not only on the students that are attending there, but also on our community. Our students deserve to benefit from having amenities which compare with almost all of the other high schools in the Niagara region. I would ask that you please carefully consider your decision and hopefully support the sale of the lower land of McMillan Park so that a synthetic turf field can be built by the school. This project will help to invest in the youth of this community and all of the students who attend or will one day attend Thorold Secondary School. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. And are there any questions from City Council? Seeing none, I want to thank you for your presentation. It was an excellent presentation, and thank you for coming to council. So up next, we'll deal with the report. PWCS 57-2024, turf field locations. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put the report on the floor? I got Councillor DeRose and Councillor Sentence. And the report is up. So the floor now is open for discussion regarding the report. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I looked through it. I looked at all proposals, and just in regards to McMillan Park, if I could comment, that earlier tonight we put a motion forward to have staff to look in to build a fence around the playground, and at the same time we're talking about selling the property that would see the elimination of the playground. So before we go forward or consider McMillan Park, we got to consider what we just passed earlier tonight and was supported by council to help a person that's in need of an area, and that was because a person's going to be attending Thorold Secondary School. So if we sell the turf field,
just a report to come back and.
But I'm saying, but we're going to deal with another report too. So we can't have both reports come back and say we're going to put the fence up and we're going to build a turf field. That's what I'm saying. You know, we're going to end up with two reports.
Well taken, but
also, regardless of where we pick the turf field location, is there going to be a public meeting or a pick in regards to such? Because I live 3 doors up from Thorold High School. I'm a Thorold High School alumni. Graduated in 1979, to tell you the truth. So, not to give my age away. But not that I dispute not having a turf field there, but I know the families that live in the area. I've lived at 35 Carlton Street North for 40 years now. Since I was 22 years old, I give my age away. And I know that when this came up for discussion before, I went around and I live in the area and I talked to the residents, and the majority of residents weren't in favor of us selling the field and eliminating the use of a splash pad or a playground equipment. And it is a very well-maintained and used park, and it's been there since the 1930s, I believe, when it was donated, I believe, by the McQuillan family that used to own the drugstore in Thorold. So the park's been used for a long time as a park. We need to consider the needs of the family. I know there's the needs of the students. Hey, I was a student too once. We played football at that field that you still play to today. So I look at it this here. It's not only addressing the needs of the students, but we have to address the needs of the residents and look at what's already there and what the residents want. So sure, it's a great idea, but until we get more public input, sure the students want it, sure the parents want it, but how do the people who are going to be affected the most feel about it and losing their park, their playground, their splash pad? Sure, you say you can move it to another place and move it up to Beaver Dams, but still that does nothing for the kids that presently use that park and now have to go to another park. So there's a lot of logistics things here. You know, and just one other thing. And on all of it, our biggest expansion, and in Rolling Meadows area, there's going to be more people living on that side of Thorold eventually than there is on this side of Thorold. So we may have to look at installing 2 turf fields because to benefit both.
This is the preferred location for a city turf field, as well as having discussions with the school boards on other opportunities.
Right. And then we got Rolling Meadows and we got Hut Park.
That's what the first 2 parts of this motion is.
That's right. So I just want to put in consideration that we have to put the resident concerns first as a priority in regards to any place where we put a turf field.
Absolutely.
No other comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else want to speak to it? Councillor Sentence and then Councillor DeAnge.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 2 parts for me. The first part in Thorold South, one of my things was to have one Thorold High and have one on the other side of the tunnel. I fully support this location of the land we own, and I would like to go forward with that and continue to investigate the school board buying the land down below. We ran into a lot of problems with the upper field, ownership, baseball, all that sort of thing. This, to me, is a great idea that could work out for everybody, depending on where the splash pad and park would go, if it can be incorporated there, if it can go up by the library, I don't know, but those are all discussions that we need to have. So I'm in support of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor D'Angelo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with both councillors. There's issues that need to be investigated. I'd like to see us investigate those issues. I wasn't part of the last council, so I don't know exactly what dealings went on with trying to purchase from the public standpoint. I only heard they were looking for the whole property. So I think this is a new proposal that's come forward.
It is, yes.
So it's not like the last one. I think this could be a compromise based on some of the factors that were mentioned in terms of relocation, the splash pad, the playground equipment, the design of it, the boundary lines. So I think some work needs to be done on that, because I think there's an opportunity potentially, but also get the valuable public input around that area also to see what's going. Because last time I spoke to a lot of residents there, they were going to lose the whole park, and they weren't happy with that. And the other component was park ever. Unfortunately, what happens with surplus properties, they get resold at highest use. Not necessarily from the school board perspective, because I know I wasn't working with the Niagara District. I was working with the Catholic School Board, trying to acquire land for Niagara Regional Housing to build affordable housing. They wanted market value for the land. So it does put a downer when you're trying to achieve certain goals. So I think this is a good opportunity that we should take advantage of. Point number 3 does that, give staff some direction. I think working with the school board, working with the school, we could possibly come up with a great solution here. So I think it should be, I'm supporting it, so I'm hoping the rest of the council supports that we look into this to see if we can make this actually happen.
And I'll build on something, and I've talked to Jeff Holman about it, and we'll be delegating, if we get the delegation at AMO, the Ministry of Culture, Recreation, Heritage, and whatever, it's that long. They are putting out a $250 million funding opportunity this summer. Details aren't available yet, and stuff like a turf field, improving McMillan Park, that kind of stuff is all part of what this program will allow us to apply for. I'm not saying we'd get it, but there may be opportunities coming this summer where we'll be able to apply and hopefully get some help from upper level of government on these type of projects.
Mr. Mayor, if I just want another point also was the fact that if we move forward and work towards this goal, we're adding a new facility to our community and not to the detriment of another sports organization. So that's a little bit more intriguing than the first proposal, and then the ownership issue has to be resolved, so I think we could work through that. But, and I see, like you mentioned, if there's some additional money or if there's money from the sale of land, I think you could, look at putting a good turf field in there, but also enhancing McMillan Park that's been sort of neglected for a long time.
And if council goes through with this, as regarding 3, and Councillor Longo might want to speak to this, we had a committee that worked with staff and the school board last time. Who was on it with you, Councillor Longo? Councillor Senton. So that would be a good opportunity to revamp that, to get those discussions ongoing if that's the wish of council. So the motion's on the floor with those 3 steps. I think it covers both. Go ahead, Councillor Longo. Are you done?
Well, I was going to add one thing, but maybe Councillor Longo, if that's the intent, Mr. Mayor, is to start working, maybe to revive that committee, and if possible, I'd like to sit on that committee.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to speak to the report. I like the looks of this report. I will support it. It does 2 things I think we need to do, and that is investigate Rolling Meadows with public input, budgets, and pre-design work. I believe we need to grow our recreational facilities in Thorold. This will give us the opportunity. It'll allow us to provide amenities to the newer developing areas in Thorold. We need to start thinking a little bit broader than just downtown. That being said, our high school is downtown, and this is a more appealing solution than the last time around. I did sit on in the discussions last time. The last proposal was to take the entire field and basically move baseball, which has been there for 100 years, to a total different part of our community. And that's why I said this proposal looks better. I think the biggest issue here, and Councillor Hanley brought it out, is there are other people in our community who aren't looking at sport. They're looking at places for their children to play and swim and so on. I think there's a way to work this out. I won't get into it tonight, but I think there's a way we could have that relocated. I think it would work. But again, I don't want to go into too much detail on that, but I will support this recommendation tonight.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to city staff, I just want to congratulate you on creating this rubric. It's really well done, covers a lot of areas to assure us that some thought has gone into selection. I really agree with it and support that we're looking at the Rolling Meadows site, which also at the same time will help create a livable community. And we've talked about that many, many times. There are lots of homes, but not anything offered beyond that. So this is, again, something to help build on these livable communities. So I support this whole report. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Bindabine.
Mr. Mayor, I also support this report. This is a perfect spot. Rolling Meadows, they need something out there. A lot of land out there, a ton of people. And DSP helping them out downtown. So it's a great win. So I support this report also.
Anyone else? you want to add something?
I just want to add one thing, Mr. Mayor. Councillor D'Angelo said if there is a committee set up, he'd like to sit on it. I was there last time. I think I could bring some value to it. So if we do that, I'd like to put my name forward and let council decide also.
Two councillors that would like to be involved. Did you want to add something before
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to make sure that we have a working group, and the two councillors who were interested in being part of the working group that helped us last time as well. So I hope if two councillors are interested, we can have that working group. Thank you.
Councillor Sentence, you were part last time. Are you okay with those two, or would you?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't mind being a part of it too, but these guys are good, so that's fine with me.
And you're also on the park trails as well.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm good.
So council, if we proceed with this motion and it's passed, then I'll ask about the names after we do the motion. Okay, go ahead.
Well, are you going to put a friendly amendment on number 3 that a working group be created?
Well, let's, how do you want to do this? Do you want to?
Up to you, Mr. Mayor. You can amend, or you can pass this and then pass a new motion. It's up to you.
I think we keep it separate, yeah. Let's, okay. Okay, so we had a mover and seconder on this. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Now, to add to this motion, a new motion that we appoint 2 councillors to the working group, okay? I had interest here from Councillor Longo and Councillor D'Angelo. Is anyone else, is everybody good with that? If you are, we'll move to a vote. If not, you want to have further discussion, I'll open the floor. Go ahead, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, just for safety issues, could we add Councillor Sentence as an alternative? Alternate, if they're for one reason.
Yeah, we can add Hammond, because sometimes
it's a story of my life, but
yeah,
I'll be an alternate.
You could wear the A on your suit.
So then, because there's times they won't be able to make a meeting, that's good. And then you can sit in on meetings as well, okay? So we have that. Councillor Longo, Councillor D'Angelo with Councillor Sentence as an alternate. Is there any further discussion before we go to the vote?
Commissioner, I'd like to put my name as to represent the school in the project.
You want to be an alternate too?
No, I want to be one of the councils on this committee.
Okay.
I think having 2 fresh people is good.
Well, there's a lot of history with this that is important too. How do you want to handle this?
It's up to you, Mr. Mayor. There is not the procedural bylaw is silent on the creation of a working group. If you want to stick with 2, we could hold a vote to see who council would like to put on the working group.
Or can we expand it?
Yep, we could do 3. However you'd like to do it. Again, there's no direction from the procedural bylaw on this.
Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, I would recommend expanding it. I don't want to argue over this. If everybody wants to be a part of this, then expand it.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
We good? So what do
you just need a mover and a seconder, so you'd be appointing Councillor DeVitas, Councillor Longo, Councillor D'Angelo with Councillor Sentence as an alternate to the working group for DSPN.
Okay, we got a mover and a seconder. I need a mover and a seconder. Are you moving it, Councillor Hanley? And I got a seconder, Councillor DeRose. Yep.
If everybody agrees, why not just have 4 of them on it? Because they're all enthusiastic about it. I think it'll. You good? Okay. Okay. I will second it though.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. It's nice when we get such an enthusiastic group that I don't have to beg for people to go on the committee. Okay, that's carried. That's done. Now we're going to move on to items for consent.
Maybe just before we do, Mr. Mayor, let's extend past 10, knowing we'll have to.
Oh, yes, that's guaranteed. Can I get a mover and a seconder to go past 10? Councillor Hanley and Councillor O'Hare. All those in favor?
Mr. Mayor, can I speak on that?
Yeah.
We have a pretty big agenda, and I don't know when you say extend past 10, is there an extend past 11 and extend past 12?
There's an extent once past 11, I think, is there not? And then
so
if council doesn't want to go past 11, then we won't finish the agenda.
Well, not White, Mr. Mayor. So currently your curfew is set at 10 o'clock. You can extend past that with a majority of 2/3. The bylaw says that no business will continue past 11. You need to suspend the rules of procedural bylaw in order to do that. If you suspend the rules to go past 11, there is no time limit.
Okay, so right now we're going past 10, and then we'll have to revisit it again if we're at 11. Correct? Okay,
No, I'm
so
not
we're
going past 11.
10. No, we're going past 10 right
Yes,
now.
well, I was just going to ask for a proactive solution here. By 10:30, I think you should look at what reports need to be passed, so that if there's no extension.
The clerk's here to guide us, and he'll
Okay.
guide me on that.
Okay, yeah, because
That's a good point, well taken.
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
lot of
so
business
we
to go.
need 2/3 to go past 10. All those in favor? Did I get a mover and a seconder? Yeah. Opposed? That's carried. Okay. We've got items for consent. Is there a mover and a seconder for the items of consent? Can I get a mover and a seconder? Because I'm going to use the same mover and a seconder for all of them anyway. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor D'Angelo, Councillor O'Hare. Do councillors want to lift any consent items 12.1 through 12.10? If so, let me know. If not, we'll vote on them as a block. Items 12.1 to 12.10.
Hello.
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 Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Can I pull 12.9?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Mr. Mayor, I have 12.1, 12.3, 12.5.
Okay, anyone else?
12.8.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Long.
12.7.
12.7? Okay.
And I'll just, through you, Mr. Mayor, remind council that you don't have to lift an item and consider it separately if you only have a comment on the item. You can still make those comments with the whole block on the floor. I just recommend that you really only lift an item if you need to make a change or have a further discussion on it.
Go ahead, Councillor Long.
12.7, I would just like to make a comment.
Okay.
And 12.8, I just want to make a comment also.
Is there anybody, are these just comments here?
12.1's a comment, 12.5 is a comment, but 12.3 might be a change.
Okay.
So that being said then, Mr. Mayor, you've got the block on the floor.
Yeah.
You could take questions or comments from the group and then we'll pass the block and then do these separate.
But I had, Sean, what did you want to? Councillor Decker, did you, I got you in here. You wanted to pull.
Well, I just wanted, if Jeff could just clarify that the donation with the Thorold Credit Union to this digital sign, that's it.
Okay, when we get.
Just some clarification.
Okay, we'll get there. We're going to start at 12.1 for the questions, so I can go through them in order. 12.1, you had a question? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
It wasn't a question, it was just a comment. At the Road Safety Advisory Committee, we were talking about the St. David's Ormond Street North property. It just says prepare report regarding traffic concerns at this intersection. Well, part of the concerns were the alignment of the sidewalks. So there's receivers and is it senders? Proper term? Oh, it is, senders and receivers. Just, they're not aligning right now. So that was one of the concerns along with some traffic issues. So I just want to make sure that was captured in the motion.
Okay. Yep. 12.3. Go ahead. You had 12.3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was just a question, because I know this is for the Municipally Significant Events Canada Day in the Thorold Market. I just couldn't remember, so I wanted to ask this question. The car show and the concert that are coming up that are being proposed, were they already declared a municipal event? Or is that something we should add here? That's the one that we had the presenter, Mr. Venry, come.
Well, that one there, he has to make application. That has to be done separate. These are municipal events that we're running. That one is,
Well, but you're declaring them municipally significant events. I think he asked for it at that time, but I can't remember if we granted it or if it was coming back.
well, that's the clerk.
I just don't, again, because it's coming up in August.
No, I
where
get
time
it.
is
I
of
just
the
want to
essence.
make sure we do this properly. I think it has to come as a separate entity, but.
So, Mr. Mayor, these are usually done within 30 days of the event, or it can't be done much later than that. So you'd expect something to come in July for this, at the July meeting.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And 12.5, Councillor DeAngelo, you pulled that. That was Broderick Avenue.
Yeah, again, I just want to highlight, this is a great news story. We did phase one. Residents there are very, very happy. Commuters are very, very happy, and they're wondering what's happening with the other section that's not as bad as it was there, but it's still pretty bad. It's great to see that we got the tender award going out there, and from what my reading, it looks like it's going to fall within the budget. So I think that's pretty exciting news for the people in that area. So it's a good news story. I just want to make sure it got out there, and hopefully there's a good story about it.
Thank you. 12.7, that was Councillor Longo on vehicle tender awards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a comment on this, and some people won't like my comment, but I'm going to make it anyways. We're spending about $800 and some odd thousand on vehicles. And my comment is this report does not talk about the environmental impact of buying these vehicles. And every report we do in the city of Thorold is supposed to talk about the environment. Every other report does, but this one doesn't. And there is an environmental impact, whether some people like it or not. And it should be included here because there was an opportunity to purchase potentially maybe electric vehicles for some of these positions. I really don't know why we wouldn't look at it. And I guess we can say we're not ready for it, but we need to get ready someday. To have a vehicle that is plugged in at nighttime that is only used during the daytime hours would be an ideal application. We'd save money, we would maybe help the environment, I'm not sure. But again, it doesn't talk about the environmental implications, and I just wanted to point.
Did you want to comment on that from, that's a Public Works report, I guess? Did you want to comment on that, Jeff?
My only question was why wasn't an environmental impact put on the report when it's put on all the others? You know what, I don't need an answer. I think I know why, but I think we need to be consistent.
Okay. Point well taken. 12.8, Battle of Beaver Dams Park Lighting Project, and that was Councillor Didby.
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank the staff for all the hard work they did on this. It's a great first step in the right direction and getting the lighting of the Beaver Dams Park.
And it come in under our budget. 12.9, the Thorold Community Credit Union, and I think that Councillor Decker just wanted some direction. What did you want, Councillor Decker? Could you repeat that?
Yeah, just a clarification on the donation.
Okay, and I think this is just getting a report, is it? Okay, go ahead, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. The letter is very general, and there's an interest in the credit union and in contributing towards the cost of these projects. Council had discussed digital sign during the budget, and we know that the score clock is something that's coming up in the capital forecast. So these are two projects that are definitely on the radar, and the details about, you know, whether it's purchase or long-term payment, those are the details that need to come back in a full report once we've had a chance to talk to the credit union about it.
That'll be addressed in the report coming back, Councillor Decker.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Long.
If I could just ask a question, Mr. Mayor, through you to Mr. Holman. Would other, you know, this is a great gesture, but would other entities have an opportunity to bid on this if it came to that?
Through Mr. Mayor, in terms of procurement, other suppliers?
Yeah, would we do a procurement if somebody else wanted to put their name on this?
Yes, those would be some of the details that we'd have to investigate. If there's a contribution and it's more of a sponsorship, then it has to follow different rules under our policy. But if the donor purchases, the product themselves and, does the procurement on their own, then it's a different type of arrangement. So we haven't really, peeled back the onion to find out what it's all about there, but there are a couple different ways. I think what we're looking for here is what is the best value for the community, and is this an opportunity to leverage some private investment to help us achieve some of the, the items that have to get pushed on the deferred list.
Yeah, okay. No, that's great. Again, I just want to make sure we do it. Great gestures, so hopefully it works out the way it is. So thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out for continuity and history, I know the scoreboard at the arena was refurbished about 16 years ago. So we left, Councillor Hanley remembers, he was on council, I was the mayor at the time, that we refurbished the unit because you could have refurbished it cheaper and had a bigger unit than if you bought a smaller one, and then we added the digital advertising or digital comments at the top. So hopefully that's something you could look at as opposed to replacing the whole unit. Sometimes a refurbishing could do, and then the cost is lower, and then that way everyone benefits, right? So.
Okay. Okay, so we've got, that takes care of 12-1 to 12-10. We had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so now we're on to items for consideration. DSC 1-2024, estimates for large bylaw remediation projects on private property. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put the report on the floor? Councillor Sentence, can I get a seconder? Councillor Didavides. Okay, the report's on the floor. Any questions? Any questions for staff? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right report, because I think there's... Is this the one that deals with the estimates by large bylaw?
That's correct.
Violations?
Yes.
Okay, because in the report it talks about $20,000. To me, that's, I think, a little excessive. I find it high. I'd rather see an estimate at, say, $10,000. That's just me. And the other thing too is if the company gives an estimate, are they bound by that estimate, or are they going to just charge what they want anyways?
Jason, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would say that the contractor, in discussions with the subject contractor here, they are flexible on that estimate. So if council wishes to lower that amount, they're open to that. The $20,000 was only identified as a starting point because that's what an adjacent municipality currently does at that level, but it's at council's discretion. In addition to that, the question as to whether or not they are bound by that estimate. A lot of these projects, it's hard to identify what the actual costs are going to be until you get in there, as you start uncovering things on these large projects. So I would suggest that if they get to a point where it's believed that the work will exceed whatever the estimate will be, then the work would stop at that point, and we'd have to figure out how to proceed after that.
Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Yeah, that sort of concerns me, right? Because if they stop halfway through and then they come back 2 days later, they're going to charge a lot more because they're going through this. So usually companies should, maybe we could track their estimates and see how accurate they are, because to me that's very important. You know, I know we're trying to get these properties cleaned up, but we have to be fair to the residents at the same time to make sure that if they're getting an estimate, it's a reasonable estimate, not just something so they can walk in the door and do the job, right? So that's my concern. Usually a lot of companies that bid on stuff, when they give you an estimate, that's their price. Sometimes they make money, sometimes they lose money.
But in this case, and correct me if I'm wrong, we give a contract to this company that's going to give the estimate. That's the company. It's not going out to multiple company. We put the contract already out, and this will be the selected contractor that's going to give the estimate.
Okay. Well, I don't want to see an estimate for $10,000 and then come back at $42,000. That's not fair to the taxpayer that has to foot that bill because they were expecting the 10,000, so.
Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would suggest that the estimates that we receive would be accurate probably 99% of the time. I don't want to commit 100% without talking to the contractor on that, because I know that there have been circumstances where during the work the contractor's uncovering things and all of a sudden there's some sort of chemical there that requires special treatment or something along those lines. Those type of unknowns, because some of these properties are in such poor condition, you don't know what you're getting into 100%. So the majority of the projects, I would say definitely those estimates would be accurate.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with the 10,000. So is it a friendly amendment we can make to that, or are you putting the motion on the floor, or?
Well, I'll put a motion to amend it because the report says 20, so.
I like the 10.
Yeah.
Myself, yeah.
The amendment would be, we have a mover and a seconder. Does anyone want to speak to the $10,000 amount? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare. To the 10,000 you're speaking.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that's a very good move. That figure would probably make a lot of people pay attention. I know if someone knocked on my door and said it'll cost me 10 grand to clean my backyard, I'd probably get to work. So I think it's a good starting point.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so what do we got there now? Go ahead, Councillor DeRosa.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree. Is there any way we could also give leniency for time limits? Especially when someone's not of sound health.
This is just to do with estimates.
Okay. But I agree with the 10,000.
Okay. So the motion would be amended to include the following: that the threshold requiring an estimate be set at $10,000. Okay? And is that it? I had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And what else do we have? Is that it?
So just, you need to receive the memo with that amendment.
So now we're going to receive the memo with that amendment. Same mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Customer service for private property bylaw violation remediation, DS 19-2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Got a mover, Councillor Longo, and a seconder, Councillor O'Hare. And there it is on the thing. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. DWCS 16-2024, traffic calming at Pine Street and Sullivan Avenue and Front Street and McNamara Street. Can I get a mover and a seconder? I got Councillor Sentence, and I need a seconder, Councillor Hanley. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just ask maybe Mr. Dunsmore. I read this a few times. Can you just explain to me what we're going to do at Sullivan and Pine?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what we're going to do is put some knockover bollards that will come out into the street a little bit and paint the area in behind it to kind of shorten the span for the pedestrians to walk across, and highlight the fact that it's a stop sign that is not always being obeyed.
Okay, there was some talk about moving sewer grates and so on. That's not what we're doing?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the original proposal that we took to the Traffic Safety Committee was actually move all the curbs in there in a more permanent way. We're not doing that right now. What we're doing is just doing the knockover bollard, so we don't have to do that infrastructure replacement.
Okay, good. So, so you mentioned knockover bollards. Are those the, I see them in other municipalities, more of a, something placed on the pavement that's in the middle of the road, a narrow type of feature, something like that?
Yeah, it's a little, I would say plastic, but it's not quite plastic, sign that stands up, and it's got a pivot at the bottom, and it's bolted down to the asphalt, and then if somebody runs into it, it bends and gets out of the way.
Supposed to come back up. Is this the first time we've used one of these?
That I'm aware of on the city streets, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. I like those. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Councillor DeAngelo, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on number 4, the crosswalk line markings and stop bar and the installation of speed humps. Just wanted to let you know, I did have discussions with a couple of the owners. They're quite happy that the stop sign isn't going in, and appreciate that staff went out there and had some discussions with them. So they came up with a good solution at this point in time. That sort of makes everyone happy, and then hopefully works as a traffic calming measure so people go slower on that road. So like I said, kudos to staff for putting some extra effort in there to get it done.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hare, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Dunsmore. The graphics show the color red behind the bollards. Is that just to highlight the area, or will it actually be painted red?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I don't think we're going to paint it red. Probably white.
Okay. I thought it might stand out more if you painted it another color. But that's something you may...
Certainly we'll look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Just one little item. It says McNamara and Front Street. Is it not John Street and Front Street? Because the house actually is on the corner. There's 51 John Street. Just to make that clear for you.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. It's a little... Yeah, McNamara, Front, John.
That's a technical corner there.
Yeah. Hey, that's my old neighborhood, yeah. It used to be called Kiefer Street at one time.
Oh, boy. Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS Storm Improvement, Clara Street and Taylor Street. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor O'Hare, Councillor Ditavitas. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 48-2024 contract award sand salt dome at Municipal Operations Center. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Sentence, Councillor Hanley. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PWCS 50-2024 RFP award Beaver Street culvert repair replacement sign. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that report? Councillor O'Hare, Councillor Ditavitas. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? I need people to put their hands up when you vote, please. Carried. PWCS 58-2024 Tree Canada Community Grant. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? I got Councillor Hanley and Councillor O'Hare. Is there any discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor DeAngelo.
And another good news story, so glad we're hitting our strategic goals already. We just passed them, an hour and a half ago, and we're hitting one of the municipal tree ones, which is great. The only question I have is, at the Mouse Swart part, I know this is where the trees are going. Is there a tree plan for the park? Just because I know in the past they planted some trees all over the place, but is there a plan so that when because they're probably not going to do all the park, they'll do a section of the park, but is there some sort of tree plan so as we apply for more grants, we sort of do sections, or as opposed to just spreading all over? Just a question. If you don't have the answer, that's fine, but...
Whose report is that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, as part of the grant application, there's a diagram at the very back. It looks at 4 different locations. And we, before we made the application, we walked the site with Rosaire, sorry, I've forgotten his last name, and identified certain areas in the park that could use some shading that are not going to take away from any events that might be hosted there, but will provide, some coverage on those hot days when it's just, so there is some strategy behind it. It's identified in the application there, Councillor, and if you need more information, we can set that all out before the event is hosted.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. I just want to make sure there's a bit of strategy with the tree planting there. It's a big park, right? So just trying to accomplish goals in there is good. I know there's a committee, and if you're dealing with Rosaire, a great asset there because he's been with the committee for a very, very long time since the onset. So appreciate the extra information. Thank you.
Okay, we had a mover and second. Do you want to speak to that? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. Very quickly, Mr. Mayor, through you, I just want to once again thank Dave Baldoni, Jacob Tedesco, and Jeff Holman. I remember on that cold fall day that we walked through the park, and we had a limited time frame to apply for this grant, and you guys pulled it off. Amazing. Thank you.
Okay, we had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now we got the amended, because of the amended, the 1313 DSC 2 2024, the report on development charge credit Rolling Meadows. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? I got Councillor Sentence and Councillor Hanley, and the report, if you got that up.
I don't have the motion up in front of me. There isn't a motion, really. There's just information being provided. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. It's just for it to be received. I'll advise council that it is available in eScribe now. This was originally listed as a confidential update, has now been brought forward as a memo for council. It is available online and in eScribe, but I'll hand it to the director to provide more information.
Can you please explain this between you and Manoj?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and my apologies for the last-minute addition to the agenda, Council. What this is there are a number of projects, infrastructure projects, 4 in total that were added to the city's previous development charge study. Those projects were appealed, and the board decided that these projects would not be considered local projects and therefore were DC eligible. Some of these projects were paid for by the developer of Rolling Meadows, not in their entirety, mind you, but there was some of the work that was paid for by the developer. The developer has made an informal request to the city that he be reimbursed for these projects. We have requested that a formal request be made. I'm awaiting to receive that formal request, but we have engaged legal counsel on this, and the reason being is that these projects were not included as a part of the subdivision agreement that these projects form. And so therefore a separate legal agreement would be required between the city and the developer of Rolling Meadows should council wish to reimburse the developer for said projects. So tonight what we're looking for is council's direction as to whether or not they would like staff to continue working on this, to look at entering into a legal agreement with the developer of Rolling Meadows with the intentions of reimbursing the developer for said projects. If we get council's endorsement on this, staff can work on the agreement with legal counsel, and with council's approval, we would prefer not, and the developer would prefer to not have to bring this back before council in the future.
Okay, so we had a mover and a seconder for that. Now, questions or discussion? Go ahead. Who had their hand up first? Go ahead.
I thought you were looking for a mover. I'm sorry. No,
I
support
right?
this. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Okay, just for clarity, so there was items that were put into the development charge bylaw that we've collected funds for, and now we're just gonna reimburse the developer for those funds that he paid for. So I just wanna make sure I'm clear on, because I tried accessing the memo, it's not accessible. It's just under, it's listed on here, but when I click on it, there's no attachment, so
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, to summarize briefly, yes.
just wanted to make sure I was clear.
Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, through you to Mr. Simpson. What are the projects? Is it the roundabout? Is that one of them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the roundabout is definitely one of the projects.
Okay.
And I'll look to our manager of engineering to assist with this if he doesn't mind. But I believe portions of Parker Parkway, portions of Upper Lane are also included.
Okay, that's what I thought. I do have one question, relates to it, and every time I drive by, I think about it. Signalization of Highway 58 is supposed to take place. Does anybody know when that's gonna happen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the last phase of Rolling Meadows that just happened, it's a conversation with the MTO, because it's an MTO road. And they put in some stipulations as to when they wanted that done in terms of number of units that were built. The latest update on the traffic impact study has actually pushed that date a little bit further back. For whatever reason, the MTO has changed their standard a little bit, so it's pushed that timing just a little bit further back.
Those projects are now on the screen for everyone to look at.
Well, okay. Up there, okay.
I have it.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Dunsmore. I would just say I hope the MTO comes down here for a ride, because that's a pretty busy road and that needs some signals in a hurry, so.
That's another item that we have on our agenda at AMO, Councillor. Not just that, the whole area there and access on those, on Highway 58 and Highway 20.
Yeah, there's thousands and thousands of cars coming in and out of there, and it's 80 kilometers an hour. It's ridiculous.
I agree. Okay, those are the projects there. There's the memo. Any further discussion on that? Any further questions on that? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Oh, did you want to add something? Go ahead. Sorry, Jason.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to clarify for council so that they know what they're voting for. And that would be to give staff direction to work with legal counsel and the developer to enter into an agreement to reimburse the developer for the costs that they incurred on these projects that are DC eligible.
Yeah.
The second part, I think second part will come back to council again or no?
No, and the second part is that doesn't have to come back to council because the legal is looking after it. Am I correct? Is that
That's
what we're
correct.
asking for? I want to make sure everybody's clear, okay?
Correct.
Okay, we had a mover seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. I've got the Heritage, no, before I do Heritage, is there any notices of motion? Okay, the Heritage designation motion, 82 Welland Street North. I'll call on Councillor O'Hara for his motion. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Dedivides. Go ahead, Councillor O'Hara.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the intent. So it's not the designation yet. We have to publish the intent first for 30 days, and then it'll come back to council to pass the bylaw. So shall I just read the bottom section?
Just the bottom.
Yeah. Okay, that City Council consider 82 Welland Street North located in the City of Thorold as a resource of cultural heritage value and interest in accordance with Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act 1990 as amended, that city staff be directed to proceed with the required process to designate 82 Welland Street under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and that the city clerk be directed to provide notice of intention to designate the property in accordance with Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act 1990.
Thank you, Councillor. And we had a mover and a seconder. Is there any questions or? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question to Councillor O'Hara, because I've never seen one of these come forward before. Obviously, the owner of the house is on board with this? That's the way it works?
Absolutely. This is, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Longo. Yes, this is how it always works. So we come out with an intent first. It has to be published. The public has to be notified in case there are some rejections to the possibility of having a designation. It's simply the process.
Okay. Yeah, I assume that the owner would have to be on board.
Absolutely. We wouldn't designate or attempt to designate without an owner on board.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to Finance Director, how does this affect their tax commitment? Or does it? Okay.
Yeah.
You, Mr. Mayor, no, there's no impact.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So now we're going into close. Right? No break. We got to get done by 11. Okay? We got to get done. Okay. Okay.
No break.
No break. Okay. Before I ask for a mover and a seconder to go into closed session, I would like to remind you your obligations respecting closed session. Those who are participating electronically in closed session must ensure that no other person in the location from which they are taking part in a meeting or make appropriate arrangements so that any other persons cannot see or hear any of the confidential deliberations taking place. If this is not possible, you must withdraw from the meeting until it has reconvened in open session. And this is now, can I get a mover and a seconder? I got a mover, Councillor Sutton, seconder, Councillor Ditavitas, that Councillor do move into closed session to receive confidential information. I can't see up there.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Confidential information respecting the following: a matter respecting labor relations or employee negotiations by the municipality under Section 239(2) sub D of the Municipal Act, updates to salary grid. A matter respecting a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality under Section 232 sub C of the Municipal Act 2001, land exchange for 133 North Street. A matter respecting a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality under Section 239(2) sub K of the Municipal Act, junior hockey team tenancy, update Doherty Arena. And finally, a matter respecting labor relations or employee negotiations by the municipality under Section 239(2) sub D of the Municipal Act 2001, market premium for building officials.
Okay, can I, we got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So,
Can I stay on or